was at the City of Leesburg's commission meeting.
I believe that's intended.
I'm sure they will.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion, we have a second. Now, I do need to just see if you would raise your hand if I call your name, if you're willing to defer your comments and not proceed with comments. That's Judith Richards. Is that sufficient? You would have to come up and speak. Okay, we're going to have to, just remember, you're winning.
Actually, you've won, probably.
Yeah.
Appreciate that we are very happy for you. Can I just,
Yes.
Yeah,
can
you got to
use
move
this
out of the
mic-
way, sir.
okay.
Thank you very much.
I simply want to
The
thank
microphone.
you for reading all of our comments and even answering. I'm so glad I came here this morning because I thought this was a done deal and we were sunk. And I realize how much preparation and all the work that you've done, and I feel so much better. And I agree with everything that's come up. My name is Judith Richards. I live within 200 feet of the pond. And there's about 20 houses that will be really in danger of what's going up as an apartment. I look forward to either the city of Leesburg or the county keeping the zoning as is. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Russell Clem. Now, this is another lawyer, so I would imagine the lawyers want to speak.
They're getting paid by the word.
I'm going to be very brief. I'm Ken Clayton's partner. I would just say he has 40 years' experience in land planning and land development law. He's board certified by the Florida Board in community association law, so he knows what he's talking about. I will say a few things about, since I believe the commission is thinking of going back to the city of Leesburg, and what I want to talk about is the interlocal service boundary agreement that the developers used essentially to do an end run to do some forum shopping in this instant. I would like to have the city of Leesburg reminded that there are certain requirements under this, under the statute, under 171.20. There is no evidence that there has been any joint determination of how to provide services to residents and property while balancing the needs and desires of the community. That's in the ISBA. Additionally, there's certain unclarity about the development application. This is Area A. It's submitted on the ISBA of 2013. The question is, was the county comprehensive plan amended to accomplish the increased density that the developer is seeking? No. They're going around it. They're looking for urban development under the city plan. We would maintain that that's a problem. The scheme of development will not be consistent. I think the commission understands that. The intended use as commercial will not be carried forward. The PUD has not been amended. All of this needs to be brought to the attention of the city of Leesburg. Commercial development is not prohibited. It may go forward. Commercial development is complementary. The residential, the higher density residential, is antithetical to this community. It's not planned that way. The PUD says 1,500 units, not 1,548. No amendment to the PUD. I'd also say that amendment to the comprehensive plan was contemplated, and that the city and the county would agree within 6 months to amend their intergovernmental coordination elements. This is what was contemplated by the interservice boundary agreement. That wasn't done. I believe that the city of Leesburg needs to account for these, the continued and intended character of this community, the scheme of development, and that is not the higher density residential development. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And then the last card is Catherine Beebe? Or Beebe? Okay, all right, thank you, Catherine. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. I think we all understand what needs to be in the letter, and then that'll come from all of us, and I'll sign it as the chair, so we'll have a chance to see the draft if anyone needs to make any changes. So with the first and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. So thank you for being here and participating in this process. All right, so we're going to move on to our zoning cases. Now, we have other annexation report cases. Let me just check. Is there anyone here on any of the other annexation report cases? I don't think we do have anyone. So we'll go back to the beginning of zoning. So I do want to remind county commissioners, if you had any ex parte communications when we get to those cases, I'll ask that you will state those for the record. And we will take each one as we get to them.
Chairman, I'd like to clarify one thing on the item that we just discussed. The gentleman was correct that per the zoning ordinance, the density for single-family residential is 2.67 units per acre, but we were talking about a multifamily development. Leesburg is proposing it at 6.5 dwelling units per acre. We mentioned the 4 units per acre because we're assuming it coming out of the PUD. We're trying to compare apples to apples. A multifamily development in the county would be at 4 units per acre per the land use.
Okay,
Just
thank you for that
clarify
clarification.
that for the record.
Okay, so we have tabs 1, 2, and 3 on consent. Are you going to go through first advertising and let us know that you've done everything that is required by Florida statute?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. For the record, Mike Fitzgerald, Office of Planning and Zoning Director. We have 10 items on the agenda today, 3 items on consent, and 7 on regular agenda. There is an agenda update. Staff will be pulling tab 2 today and postponing that to a later date. That's the evaluation and appraisal report.
Okay, so on consent, we have 1 and 3. And let me,
Just as a very quick, fresh reminder, I know we spoke yesterday, but can you just give us like a one-sentence explanation of 1 and 3, just so it's fresh, real quick? And
Yes.
maybe in case anybody had questions in the crowd.
Item number 1 is the water supply facilities work plan.
that's,
Legislation requires local governments within a regional water supply planning area to develop and adopt a water supply facilities work plan as part of their comprehensive plan, which covers a 10-year planning horizon. The work plan is intended to ensure that local governments can provide adequate potable water to meet the needs of current and projected populations. It covers conservation, reuse initiatives, and interlocal governmental coordination. So that this is actually a readoption of this item, and we will be sending this to the state for final approval.
And then 3 is a communication tower change of space, or?
Yes, sir. Item number 3 is a conditional use permit on a 180-foot monopine communications tower on an agricultural zone property. This is to allow the proposed tower to be constructed off-center, and this will be constructed off-center by a distance of approximately 30 feet. And Planning and Zoning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
Move approval.
Second.
1 and 3.
Second.
all right, we have a first, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Then moving to the regular agenda. The first item is tab 4. Once we hear staff report, you can give ex parte communications unless anybody's prepared to do that now. Anyone have any conversations on this one?
I believe that tabs 7 and 8 are tabs that have been brought up before us. Is that right? City of Claremont.
Yeah, but I was just going to take them one at a time. Tab 4 is our next one. That was Sorrento Tower, CUP. Do we have any ex parte?
And in fact, I appreciate the chairman bringing up tabs 7 and 8. An additional agenda notification is that the application for Claremont West, future land use modification and Claremont West rezoning, the applicant is here today and has notified staff that they wish to propose to the board that that item be postponed. So when we get to that item, that request will be made to the board.
Okay.
So agenda item number 4 is the Sorrento Tower. The requested action is a conditional use permit to request a 54-foot monopine communications tower in a planned industrial district. There are waivers associated with this. One waiver is for a 17.6-foot setback from the right-of-way in lieu of 50 feet, a 17.6-foot western property line, an 18.2-foot eastern property line setback in lieu of 25 feet. There's a waiver for it to be constructed off-center, a waiver for it to be 43.8 feet from the western property line, 40.8 feet from the eastern property line in lieu of the required 100 feet. This will be located 51 feet from the center, and it's approximately 117 feet from the closest travel lane. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval 5-0. The location of this is 22435 Sorrento Avenue. Sorrento Avenue. The subject parcel is located within the Mount Dora JPA. This was provided to the City of Mount Dora for comment. They commented that it will exceed their maximum height of 100 feet and that there's a type C buffer according to Mount Dora's code of 40 feet in width, and then they do not require or allow any signage, where we allow FCC signage, no trespassing signs, and this will exceed their height limit. And then the tower will have a type A landscaping buffer, which is 10 feet wide per our code. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So when Mount Dora weighs in with JPA type comments, is it are we permitted to increase, because it's a CUP, our requirements based upon staying consistent with the JPA?
CUP is conditional, so you could add additional conditions or not grant waivers or however you see fit.
And as far as the height goes, is that one that we have discretion on?
Yes, that would be part of the conditions.
What about a camouflage tower? Is that something that we could require? I mean, this is like right where you come off of the Parkway, and we're in the Wekiva study area, and it's all part of the Wekiva Parkway system, and it just seems odd to have a tower, intrusive, to have a tower right there.
Absolutely.
Especially with all the waivers. I mean, you've got 4 different waivers. Why wouldn't they put it in the middle of the parcel?
Chairman, I believe the applicant is here to answer some.
Okay, why don't we do that? Let's hear from the applicant, and we'll hear what the reasoning is behind the waivers. And
You can speak from that. Do you have a presentation? No,
but I am going to need the overhead.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good morning, Mary Solik, 121 South Orange Avenue, Suite 1500, Orlando, Florida. I represent Vertex Development, the applicant on this particular application. I think it probably would be helpful to walk you through the waivers. Bear with me. I'm 2.5 weeks post knee replacement surgery, and I'm just a little slow today. Okay. Is that going to pop up? Oh, it is. Okay. This is industrially zoned property. The 2 parcels in question, here and here, are unified in use and in industrial PID, but they're under separate ownership. They're related entities. And the landlord wanted us to put this tower on this parcel here. That's can I use this one? This is a remnant parcel left over from the eminent domain action for State Road 453. Again, this is an industrially zoned property, and we're asking for 4 different waivers. The first waiver is, well, first of all, let me tell you why it is where it is and how that leads into 4 waivers. The most important separation requirement in your code is that we be separated from residential uses. And that is the only aesthetic portion of your code is that you are to assess the aesthetic impact to residential properties. The property to the north is part of a large planned development. It's a mixed-use development, but the parcel directly north is slated for residential uses. So we deemed that to be the most important setback that we meet. Your code requires that it be 330 feet away from that property line. That's the residential setback. That's the only setback in your code that is related to an off-site use. So that drove the tower down south. It's an unusually shaped parcel, again, because it's a remnant from 453. You have a requirement that the tower be 50 feet from a public right-of-way. We can't meet that requirement. We are, the compound is 17.6 feet from the west property line, but the tower itself is 43.8 feet from the property line. We have submitted a certified engineering report that the fall zone radius for the tower is 40 feet. So in the unlikely event of tower collapse, it will fall entirely within the subject property. It is no threat to the traveling public on 453. So that's one waiver. You have another requirement that towers be centered on the property, which is a very unique requirement. The center of property is up here, and so we are 51.8 feet from the center. If we located it on the center, we couldn't meet the setback to the residential property to the north, and we would increase the setbacks to the right-of-way and the zoning district setbacks. So again, that 330 feet drove it south and necessitated the waivers from the center of parcel and the 50 foot from the property line. You also have a requirement that all towers be 100 feet from the property line. So we have the property line of the State Road 453 right-of-way and the property line of the adjacent property that is affiliated with this property. Again, it's an unusually shaped piece of property. Our fall zone radius indicates the property will fall entirely within the subject property. And then the last waiver that we've asked for is for the zoning district setbacks. They're 25 feet. Our compound is 17.6 feet from the west property line and 18.2 feet from the east property line. That's the compound distance. And again, the shape of the parcel and the need and the desire to meet the residential setback drove that setback to the south. You have, I heard some discussion about the aesthetic impact of the tower. Your code directs you to consider aesthetic impact as it relates to residential uses. That's part of the specific conditional use criteria in your tower code. And again, we meet that setback, and your code also requires that you mitigate the aesthetic impact by a landscape buffer around the base of the tower. And the proposed tower meets the landscape buffer that is required in the tower code. I will also add this. This is page 26 of your staff report. In addition to the 10-foot landscape buffer that will be around the base of the tower, there is already a substantial amount of mature vegetation in the 453 right-of-way that will help screen and buffer this property. This property also has some significant elevation, and it's pretty heavily treed. The tower will have little impact from 46 and limited impact from 453. The other point I'd like to make is that 453 is a DOT road, and DOT puts towers in their right-of-way, up and down the right-of-way, all over the state of Florida. They have a master lease agreement with the national tower developer, and they put towers everywhere. There's several of them in Lake County. I don't think I have anything further to add. Do you have any questions for me?
The storage containers that are shown all over this property, are they remaining?
They will have to be moved to accommodate the compound.
But, so the answer is just to accommodate the compound. What about the rest of the site? Would it be cleaned up?
I don't know what the landowner's intentions are. I don't think there's any code violation. It's industrial property. I don't think there's any
Yeah,
code
it's just,
violations going on out there.
although there's trees there, you definitely can see all of that when you're on the parkway. When you're coming off of that interchange, you can see how, yeah.
It's industrial property.
Yeah, and it's industrial property, and they're asking us to waive LDRs. And
Right. I agree.
Well, I have a.
Why wouldn't you put it on DOT property then? If DOT will do it instead of doing private?
Because my client has a lease on this property.
I'm sorry?
Because my client has a lease on this property that goes way, way back. I'm going to ask him to come up. I think that his lease on this property probably predates the master.
So did he
Maybe
own, did he own the property when they did eminent domain?
No, he does not own the property. He has a lease with the property owner.
Okay.
So for your height requirement, you're asking for 158 feet, right?
54.
154
It's a
feet.
150-foot tower
And-
with a
and
4-foot
is-
lightning rod.
I'm sorry?
It's 150 with a 4-foot lightning rod. Yes, and it is a monopole. Mr. Fitzgerald did tell you it was a monopine. It is proposed as a monopole.
So he has a 154-foot request, right?
Yes.
How far, I'm only assuming that actually, the American Tower is probably who you heavily contract with, American Tower.
No, no,
Right.
no. My client is Vertex, and they have a lease with the property owner.
Okay. Who's going to put this tower on this site?
Vertex will build the tower on this site.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the height requirement is because it's in a hole.
It is to
that-
meet the needs of the Vertex customer, who is Verizon. That's the anchor tenant.
That's all I have.
Alan Ruiz from Vertex is going to come up.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Alan Ruiz with Vertex Development, 3630 West Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Verizon is the anchor tenant, and they are requesting to be at the 145-foot radiation center, which is basically a 150-foot tower. The radiation center is the center of their antennas. We have just spoke with AT&T yesterday. They will be submitting an application on this site as well. They just received budgetary approval. And T-Mobile has submitted this site for budgetary approval as well with their corporate. As you all well know, there's a tremendous amount of residential development either going on or planned for this area, and they're trying to get out ahead of it so they can provide the service that's going to be necessary in terms of capacity for all the residential development coming to the area. When we talk about a height of a tower, what's really important is that you consider in this market there are four national carriers. You, of course, I'm sure you all as well want to have one tower that can accommodate the needs of all four carriers. So when you're talking about the height of a tower, you're really having to look at what is the height for the lowest carrier on that tower, which in this case would be from 110 to 120. Then you have another one from 120 to 130, 130 to 140, and then 140 to 150. Each carrier requires 10 vertical feet of space on the tower. And so that's really what drives the height of the tower is how high is the lowest carrier going to be on this site. And in this case, we already have one carrier signed up, another one submitting an application, and the third putting in a request to their corporate for budgetary approval.
Okay, and I want to add to that. And can I add on to that? I want to. This is really an opportunity for you to get ahead of the game and not have a tower later that packs the house like the annexation agreement. Here's what's coming down the pike. There's two big projects that are approved, one north and one south. The one north, Mount Dora North, is proposed for 87 single-family units and 3,155 multifamily units. The project approved to the south, Mount Dora South, is approved for 504 single-family units and 10.4 million square feet of non-residential uses, light industrial, general office, and shopping center. So this tower gets ahead of the curve on the demand, and it's an opportunity to get infrastructure in there on industrially zoned property before the development comes that needs it. So it's an opportunity for you to do this while there's nobody here objecting. The other point I want to make is that in addition to the comments provided by Mount Dora, they also offered up that the property is not eligible for annexation currently under the JPA agreement. So right now, the property is in Lake County. Your regulations, your LDRs, your future land use controls. The comments from Mount Dora are comments. If it had been annexed into Mount Dora, then we'd have to deal with those regulations. But it's not eligible for annexation into Mount Dora.
But it doesn't mean that, because we're in a JPA with Mount Dora, if they give us comments, we certainly can take this
Right.
into consideration.
I have a question. So I'm looking at the tower elevation. I think it's 27, page 27 of 29. And that's what it's going to look like. And I appreciate the explanation about the stacking of the characters, the carriers. That's interesting. And I guess what you're saying is that if you didn't do this, there would be other towers that the other carriers would probably look for. But the question I have is about back to aesthetics with this. Does it have to look that way, or so I see these monopoles near me that have like a big American flag on them. I mean,
Absolutely, we need that.
I mean,
Exactly what we need.
Can we get an American flag on our monopole?
I mean,
I would give them all the height they wanted, they did that.
Once again, Alan Ruiz with Vertex Development. So what you're referring to is what's called a flagpole type tower, right? And typically those sites, not typically, those sites are all designed so that you have, let's say in this case, it would be 110 feet worth of monopole, and then you'd have a 40-foot spline that was attached to a wagon wheel type attachment at the top of that 110 feet. That spline would go up for 40 feet, and you would attach the antennas to that spline, and then around that, you put these fiberglass shrouds that would make it look like one uniform pole, all the way up to the 150-foot level. There are two issues with that. Number one, it very much limits the number of antennas that you can attach to the pole, because typically these poles are between 36 and 48 inches in diameter. And although it may not be very apparent to you, but these antennas, when you look at them up in the sky, they look kind of small in the towers, but they're truly 6 to 8 feet tall and typically about 20 to 22 inches in width. So it very much limits the number of antennas that carriers can put on the towers, which means they need more of these towers if they're able to even use these types of towers, and I'll get to that in a second. Right now, when 5G was introduced to the market several years ago, the carriers are still having to support the 4G network. So they need more antennas on the towers than these poles really allow to be used. Most of these flagpole type towers that you'll see were approved and built many years ago or several years ago because of the second issue that I wanted to bring up. When 5G was introduced, the technology requires that the radio units, the RRUs, be attached to the antennas, behind the antennas. Those radio units used to be down in the equipment cabinets or in the shelters down in the ground in the compound, but now they're being attached to the antennas. The problem with the flagpole type towers is they're closed in, so these radio units overheat, and they cause all kinds of problems. And the manufacturers are now, Ericsson, Nokia, and the manufacturers of these radio units are no longer warranting these radio units because they're overheating inside of these enclosed canisters and failing. And so the carriers themselves have completely gotten away from it. They've flat out said, you know, we cannot use these types of structures anymore. So that's the explanation as to why. We used to build a lot of those. We did quite a few of them.
Why don't they re-engineer it so that they can allow some
Exactly.
airflow or whatever they need to keep the temperature down?
Yeah, so they've made some attempts to cut slits, if you will, to aerate the canisters, and the two problems with that is the wind gusts will work their way in there and dislodge those shrouds that are attached to the towers. And the second issue with that is it is not as effective as they need it to be in order to keep the radio units cooled down.
Well, what about the,
So what about the trees that we see, the tree?
So that's another option, which would be what they call a monopine type tower. You know, this is opinion now. This is just me speaking as someone who's built several of those things. They end up calling a lot more attention to them, I think, than is desired. because of the height of the towers, they end up where the branches are real tight up against the towers, and they look like a baby bottle cleaner almost, if you will. The branches fall off. They're a maintenance nightmare. They tend to not be the solution that people are looking for. One of the solutions that we've started moving towards are shrouded monopoles. And I have one on, I have a picture on my phone, which I'd be willing to go with this.
Yeah, but I have no way of putting that.
Yeah, you just lay it on there.
Yeah,
So
no,
this
but
one-
then it's not in the record.
Then we get to keep.
We can take a picture of it.
phone.
You can screenshot it. You could screenshot it, right?
Yeah, Mary, you can email it to me and I'll get it to the clerk.
All right, so just drop it right here. Yeah,
Hit your screen.
You gotta,
sorry. Okay. Is it up? Okay. All right, so this is a tower actually that we just completed, and carriers are in the process of installing. This is the rendering that was used prior to the tower being built. So this isn't the exact tower, but this is exactly what it looked like. So what you end up doing is you put these shrouds around the antennas, which, again, isn't, you can't conceal a 150-foot tower, but you can try and make it more aesthetically pleasing. And that's what is going on here. This is the site that we just recently completed is at Angeline Academy of Innovation in Pasco County. So this is what we refer to as a shrouded monopole.
Is that a logo that's on,
It is.
and that's about, is that, what, 8 feet tall or 10 feet?
So those are 10 feet.
10 feet, okay, each segment, like,
Yes, sir.
this would be like 2 carriers is on that pole.
That is correct, sir. Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's, this is just, now we're talking aesthetics. That personally, that looks better to me than what is in your tower elevation,
Well, this is the Wolf Branch Innovation District. The property where this is located is called the Wolf Branch Innovation District. There is a logo. I don't know that we've actually gotten to a point where we've presented that to the board and Mount Dora, but it's been they've been working on this for a while, an idea of having an actual logo that would be for the Innovation District. So that's,
So we would gladly place the logo on so what we proposed in Pasco County at the Angeline School was, it's called the Angeline Academy of Innovation because that's the name of the community that's being developed around that area. And that's the Angeline logo. Now, ultimately, that was shot down by the county because their code says no signage on towers. But if y'all wanted it on there, that's fine with us.
well, then back to Mount Dora's comment that they don't even allow I think the federally required signage because they have a no signage, but that's like down around the base.
All that signage is typically on the gate, on the fence. You have
Yeah.
to have the FCC and the FAA number and an emergency number and things like that.
Trying to figure out how to make a positive out of a negative. I mean, I hear the positive side of doing something now versus later, because you're obviously going to need the coverage, and it would be better to,
so,
yes.
so I just have a couple of comments here. First of all, this is absolutely an industrial property. And if the state didn't come in and eminent domain this property, we wouldn't even be talking about this. However, I'm glad the state did because it gave us a good thoroughfare and it created Innovation Way, the Innovation District, which is going to be pivotal for Lake County and our economic development. Don't we have a tower at neighborhood lakes that are similar to something like this? Right there off of 429, isn't there a tower that the DOT put in right there in the corner? So,
You're talking about at the Wekiva?
yes,
Yeah, there's one that was on FDOT property.
right.
Yeah.
So, one of the first questions I asked is, why is it off center? And is the fall rate to where it wouldn't impede the public or hurt the public? And it was assured that the fall rate was engineered to stay within the property. I understand the height requirement because of how low the property is compared to the road. It's got to get over the trees. There is pine trees along the border of 453 Sure, you can see the industrial park now, but in 5 years, you might not see it at all because the pine trees are growing unless they were leaning like the ones that are in the middle of the road, which is kind of weird. Anyway, I'm in full support of this. I think it's a good place. I think we need to have 5G network out there, especially for what's coming. And it's going to connect to the other towers along 453 and 46. So that's all I have to say about that.
One thought that I was thinking when we were talking about the flagpole, and you told us why it couldn't be done anymore, or why it shouldn't be done. Excuse me, I wondered about an actual flagpole. I'm just trying to figure out how to make the site look better. I mean, you're coming off of the parkway, you've got all of those storage containers, and yes, over some time, hopefully, it'll be shielded by some of the landscape. But I wondered about the possibility of a condition that the site be cleaned up, at least the storage containers be made orderly in the way that they're placed on the property. And then that the possibility of an actual tall flagpole. So you're coming off into Lake County and the Innovation District, and you have this nice big American flag.
Would that
Have you ever done anything like that before?
interfere?
I have not done that before. That's never been a condition of one of our approvals. With regard, this is in reference to like literally putting up just a separate flagpole off to the
A
side.
standalone large
Standalone
flagpole.
Absolutely.
I'm not averse to putting up a flagpole. I'm as patriotic as they come, so I think that would be beautiful, and I have no issues with that whatsoever. As far as the containers go on the property, I'm not the owner of the property, and he runs a business. They're reliable contractors, and I can't speak for him as far. I can certainly go back to him and say, look, the board requested that you do this. I doubt he'd have a hard time with, or an issue with lining them up. He probably would not want to remove them because he has them there for a reason, would be my guess. But I can certainly go back to him and ask him to clean it up, make them more orderly, as you stated. And with regards to putting a flagpole, what are we talking about here? Like 50-foot flagpole or?
Something like you see at the car dealerships, when they do a.
Camping World
It's like a
flagpole.
statement flag, it's.
Camping
Go
World,
out in front of Cecil Clark Chevrolet and
Camping World is the king now. They got the biggest down in Claremont.
Can I put something out there as well, since we're workshopping ideas, but if you went to the tent, I call it the tenting now, what
Monopole
you did in
shrouding?
Pasco County, the
Yes.
shrouding, yes. Could you put an American flag on top of that?
I would suggest that would probably
then
be
the
a better
logo of your-
solution. It would be taller. You're
you
going to
get your
have
wolf
multiple levels of shrouding, right? Those panels that go around the, so those multiple panels, we can take and put any logos you like on those panels. So we can I would suggest to put the American flag at the top, right? And then if you have the Innovation District logo or whatever logo we're talking about here, you can go on the second carrier below it. And I think that would probably be a better solution. With flagpoles, you do have the concern of the flag being tattered in the wind. It has to be uplit because we're not going to raise and lower that flag every day. And now, sadly, too often, our flags are being flown at half-mast. So you have to worry about, and that's not like a school flag where you just have a couple of 10th graders go out there and lower. These flags are giant. Again, you may not realize this, but they carry the 1-to-19 ratio. So you're talking about a flag that might be, 20 feet tall by 38 feet long. I mean, this is a giant flag. So in terms of maintenance and having the proper care taken for the flag, you're going to be adding lighting to it. You're going to have to put it up at half-mast at certain times of the year. You're worried about it being tattered. I think the idea of maybe putting the American flag logo on one of those panels would probably serve the purpose and be very nice to look at, but I would leave that to you.
so not one of those panels, but it's got to be the top panel.
For the American flag, that's what I would, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, flag protocol would definitely have to be at the top.
Yeah.
Right, and then maybe have the Innovation District,
The logo.
whatever comes up.
Or the county logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're close to coming up with the Innovation District logo for us to look at and from Outdoor to look at. So, and if they're not, then we're putting pressure on them to get that done. Is there, I mean, I do feel like it would be I feel, I don't know whether, we don't really have a whole lot of public engagement on this one, other than some of our folks that are on the CRA board and that are involved in the community. We don't have any speaker cards.
One speaker.
We've got one. Oh, we have one. We just got that. Okay, we do. So we have to hear from our speaker and then see if we have no one online.
And I will add that our landlord wanted us to put the tower in that location because of the landlord's future expansion plans on the main property. So you'll get an opportunity to get your hands on what the larger site looks like.
Oh, that's a great point.
Do we know what they're planning to do there? Because I felt like Reliable Contractors, I felt like they were actually staging there for work that they were doing on these road network, and that it was going to get cleaned up eventually because they were going to finish up all the road construction.
My understanding is they're planning, and I'm not sure when, it could be next week or next year, but they're planning on putting up another building on the property. So, yeah. Because originally, we did approach them about going on the larger parcel, but it conflicted with their future plans of development. Now, again, I don't know how solid those plans are.
Well, and they would be in a better position to have a big flag pole because they'd have their building there and running a business there.
Yeah, they could do the flagpole.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to, I mean, I really feel like there ought to be a condition that, I realize you're the tenant, but that the site itself be cleaned up, just,
I don't know how you can condition that when they don't own the property.
I think we absolutely can.
because they go back to their landlord and they say, in order to get this through, we need these things done.
Well, we also have to remember, it's an industrial piece of property.
That doesn't mean it has to look horrible.
Meant for industrial uses.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it has to look unsightly.
It's a major
Right?
entryway to the county.
Yeah, it's a
too. There's
gateway.
gotta be some conditions.
I completely understand, but it is an industrial piece of property that wouldn't have been a gateway unless the state brought it through. I mean, that's probably been here for 50 years.
I don't think so. I'm pretty familiar with that area, and that whole site, the way it looks now, that industrial site, it didn't look that way years ago. That started to evolve as the parkway was being
And that would
built.
be a code enforcement.
Are there any code cases on the properties?
I think it's a modest condition for what they're getting.
Can you see this, what I've just put back up? Can you see that?
No, I don't think so. They're going to switch it over.
Okay. Okay. All of that there will have to be moved to build the tower, and that's where the compound's going. So a substantial portion of it will have to be relocated.
What would be the time frame?
With regards to when the tower is being built, we would proceed towards site plan and then building permit. I mean, just the normal process that the county has, which I'm sure you knew better than I do.
So as far as like the logos going up on, if we were to go that route, is that something like a panel can be brought down and put
So
up, or will
We
you
would
need
order
that?
it- We would order the panels with the logos already put on them, and they would go up as the carriers install. Typically, not typically, the way it works is the mount itself, the framing, is built with the antennas attached to it already on the ground. And they'll just crane it up and put it on there. And then they'll take a crane with a man basket, and those guys will go up there and make all the final connections and attachments, and then place the panels on. So that all happens within 2 or 3 weeks of them commencing their co-location on the tower. It's very quick. But we would order the panels with the logos on them already.
Okay.
And how much of can you put your picture back up that you had with the circle around it?
The shroud, the one with the shrouds?
Just-
Well, the shrouds are
right there.
That was on his phone.
That was on his phone, but
So how much of this are you leasing? How much, what's your,
It's a 50 by 50 compound that,
and you're showing a 100-foot radius, right?
yeah, I'm impressed, actually. That's weeks ago. Wow.
Okay, that's good, good enough.
by 50 lease area. With,
So he'll have to move all those trailers anyway.
A lot of them.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, just tell him to put them in an orderly fashion.
I mean, I can't imagine he would have an issue with lining them up neatly. I can't I mean, I don't know why he'd have an issue with that. I certainly, I just can't speak to him, you know, move them over to the east side of your other parcel. I can't speak to that, but, and I know they want this done. They would like to have this tower on their site. They would install the caisson, so, yeah, they'd be a big part of the construction as well. And with regards to the logo, I'm not sure what your code states as far as logos. Jen, do you think, did you happen to read?
do we have a signage problem like we ran into in Pasco?
I'm sure we could condition that right now, though.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you
Yeah.
guys address that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 317. Your code does say, under 3.1317, no signage shall be permitted on towers or antennas. So you'd have to grant waiver number 5.
Okay. That'd be something that we could put in the motion then to, okay,
You add as a condition.
yeah.
And then back to the Mount Dora, like 100 feet requirement, that just means that you'd end up having more towers because you wouldn't have the space in order to
Yeah.
get the co-location where it needs to be.
That's correct. Great way to look at it. I use this analogy all the time. If you take a flashlight and turn it upside down, right, it creates a circle of light on the ground, right? The higher you lift the flashlight, the bigger the circle. The lower you push down the flashlight, the smaller the circle, right? It's very similar as far as the propagation of the signal coming off the antennas from these towers. So if you start pushing it too far low, that third and fourth carrier, maybe even the second carrier, can't use the tower. They're going to be looking to do one a quarter of a mile down the road or something like that.
So this, but you said you could get up to 4 carriers on this, the big ones then?
Yes, sir, the 4
Designed
national
for that, okay.
carriers. As it is, we have 3 of them that are pretty
You already,
locked up.
that's right, okay.
Yes,
thank
sir,
you.
yeah.
All right.
And as far as the shroud tower, is there is there one in the state anywhere, someplace?
We actually have completed one in Pasco County at Angeline Academy of Innovation, and the top carrier is installed, they're completed, Verizon, and AT&T is currently installing their equipment, and T-Mobile has their application right behind it.
I know of another one that might be more familiar to you. It's at the intersection of I-4 and Conroy Road near Millennium Mall, and it's on the northwest quadrant. They don't line up. I mean, I think that's goofy that the shrouds are not lined, there's 2 shrouds on it, and the triangles are not lined up. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's one that you might be familiar with.
Yes, I remember that one, okay.
That would be my only hesitation. I like to see things. I always like to see something before I feel comfortable with it. I mean, I like the idea of having, like, it goes hand in hand with the Innovation District. It would be something different. It would be innovative. And as much as I feel like a camouflage tower is kind of a cool concept, I think the reality is it does draw attention, and you go, oh, yeah, there's a tower that they're trying to make look like a tree, and it's almost better just to have the tower. So, okay, we have a card. We've got to take our speaker card, and we'll hear what Cindy Newton's thoughts are on this matter.
Good morning again, Cindy Newton, District 4. The applicant's requesting the 4 LDR section waivers, and then using the county LDR 3.13.08A for the purposes of measurement, tower setbacks and separation distances shall be calculated and applied to facilities located in Lake County, regardless of the municipal and county jurisdiction districts. But this disregards Mount Dora's Development Review Committee comments stating that the proposed tower does not meet its standards for setbacks and the maximum height of 100 feet, as measured from the natural grade. And when this parcel is annexed into Mount Dora, this will be non-conforming to their code, setbacks and height. The current county Mount Dora JPA states, Article 3, Number 3A, it is the intent of the city and the county that the comprehensive plans of the city and the county shall ensure that the lands in the JPA are developed consistent with the development within the city. With the current JPA under review, I highly recommend allocating as much as possible to the current JPA. We do not want any more contention between these two parties during negotiation, as we have seen has been happening within this negotiation. This tower is designed to fold down like a bent straw into itself. It like buckles in the middle, which I'm sure they can explain more, to be within the parent boundaries. But the collapse doesn't account for the foundation failures. And as we saw with Hurricane Milton, this area is undergoing huge changes in hydrology, including an increase in water flowing into Lake Amos, which will be to the northeast of this project. The surrounding property is also undergoing major grading changes with Mount Dora North going in. We do not know what these hydrology changes will be doing. I ran a soil map on the parcel, and even with the disturbance, this is all type A hydraulic sandy soil. So with too much water in this area, you can lose the shear strength when it's saturated. So I'd like to see, even with any height tower, that they can assure that they're putting some plans in place to help with that so we don't lose shear there and actually have that tower fall rather than buckling. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, when I consider the Mount Dora code provisions, I feel like those regulations are in place for really the developed areas already in the city, where you wouldn't necessarily want a tower over 100 feet. This is right on the edge of the parkway. It's also in the Innovation District. And the fact that you could end up with 4 more towers instead of 1, it's fine to have a rule that says 100 feet, but if you're really not taking into consideration whether that has a greater impact or lesser impact, I think that, you know, it's better to think through these things and come up with a better solution than just to adhere to a hard and fast rule. I like the idea that the setback off of the property to the north is the one that's being honored, which is adjacent to where the residential uses would be. And it is possible as you come off of the parkway, it's not going to be super noticeable, although I stand by my concern about organizing the site, making it look more presentable, especially if we're going to have a logo on there, and it looks like we've given some thought to it, and then if we have stuff all over the property that looks unkempt, it's just not a good look at all. I would ask that our staff, like, we move as quickly as possible for a logo design concept that we can take to Mount Dora to have them give their input on as well.
We can include that in the JPA discussions, yes.
Okay, all right. I mean, we can do that in the JPA. We can just, like, work on it. I don't want to bog, I mean, the JPA's got a lot of other stuff going on.
We have some designs that we'll be presenting to you shortly.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think that setback off the north boundary is the most, clearly the most important. So those are my thoughts as the district commissioner.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, I'll make a motion if you want. I will make a motion to approve with the condition of the shrouding with the American flag on top and then the logo for Wolf Branch Innovation District possibly to come second as soon as that is developed. And of course, for staff, noting that staff would work to address any engineering questions or concerns that were raised during this hearing.
Second.
And I think inherent in that motion is that that would include the waiver to the sign limitation that's in our code.
Thank you. Yes, my motion would include that as well. Thank you.
And my second still includes that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, if I can clarify with the shrouding, I'd like to include that picture as an example in the ordinance. And then is it the shrouding just the two, or is it going to be if you have 4 carriers, will it be 4?
Alan Ruiz with Vertex. Again, to answer the question, it would be for all 4, and I actually can send that picture as well. That's a drawing from an engineer drawing, but it shows that all levels are
Okay, if you can send
shrouded.
both, please.
Yes, ma'am.
And then is there a time frame in which the county would have to provide a logo?
So we're just thinking this through. In all reality, it's probably going to be 4 months or so before we even begin construction on the tower. I mean, from now, we go into site plan and then the building permit. That process takes a little bit of time. So I mean, I don't know what your timeline is like, but I feel like you're going to have some time to work with on the logo.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a quick comment too, right before we take the vote, I think. I want to thank you. This is actually a good presentation. It's probably, out of all the tower presentations we've had, it's probably the best, at least most informative. And thank you for throwing out some innovative ideas to address our concerns on it with aesthetics, so I appreciate that.
It was my pleasure, and I appreciate your consideration.
And I would like to just reiterate the importance of these towers as not only for cell communication, it's also 5G, which is communicating with our autonomous vehicles. So all that goes into effect. This is out in Sorrento, so they won't have any fiber network anytime soon, probably other than this tower here, so.
And your first responders all use FirstNet.
Correct.
It's an AT&T network, you know. So
Correct.
that's how they all interconnect and communicate with each other.
So,
Okay, we have a first, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you. We look forward to working with you on this. Moving then to tab 5, we have Ruby Shores. Anybody have ex parte communications they need to get on the record? Does not appear that we have any. Oh. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, Mike Fitzgerald, Office of Planning and Zoning Director. This case is Ruby Shores. The requested action is rezoning approximately 4.5 acres from estate residential R2 district to urban residential R6 district to facilitate the development of a residential subdivision. The Planning and Zoning Board approved this 5-0. The location is south of Forest Lake Road, north of Eagle Point Court. The future land use is an urban low density. The applicant is requesting the rezoning of the property to provide consistent zoning with contiguous parcels also owned by Shangri-La by the Lake Incorporated. The rezoning will facilitate development of a residential subdivision on all the lots owned for a total of 6.43 acres and allow a maximum of 24 single-family lots. The rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. R2 zoning allows for 2 dwelling units per acre R6 zoning allows for 6 dwelling units per acre, but the urban low density limits this down to 4 units per acre. The applicant provided documentation indicating that central water, sewer and water service are available to the subject parcel through Florida Community Waters Systems, Inc. The utility notification form states that connectivity to the central sewage is within 1,000 feet, and central water is within 300 feet. Lake County Schools reviewed the application and determined that the project would be considered de minimis impact. Lake County Fire Station number 72 is approximately 1 mile from the subject property. Transportation review was done, and the application was considered to be de minimis impact, and an environmental assessment will be provided at the preliminary plat stage. This is an infill project in staff's opinion, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, all right, any questions at this point?
Questions?
You do?
I do, yes. So I understand this. What is the allowable density now? And they're proposing to go to 24 units
Their
with the straight
current land
zoning
use-
now?
Their current land use is urban low. This is simply just a rezoning. So urban low allows for 4 units per acre, and they are proposing 24 single-family lots. The rezoning is on 4.5 acres, which will be added to the property that they currently own for a total of approximately 6.5 acres at 4 units per acre, so they're asking for 24 units.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the difference between status quo density versus what's being proposed.
What can they build maximum right now if they don't ask for it?
Thank you, yeah.
Maximum right now, despite the land use, they have an R2 zoning, which is 2 units per acre.
Gotcha, okay. All right, and then the second question is, has there been any input from Public Works on the roads? Because if I look at these roads, I've been out there, but they're not county standard roads.
If Public Works would like to answer that question, that would be.
Forest Lake Drive is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forest Lake Drive is a road. I remember when it was being built.
Jeff Earhart, an engineering director. The roads are about 20 feet wide. They are residential type roads. We had a pretty big discussion about this with some developments about a year or so ago. So there's no plans currently to do anything to the roads, to have them repave the roads or to widen the roads. That's not in any of this. We are in the process of designing a signal at Harbor Shores in 44. So even though it will almost be warranted, we'll be putting that up. I did want to say with the 24 units, it'd be about creating 216 like daily trips. It's about 9 per but the peak hour impact is about 13. So I know there's some concern about the quality of the roads, that they are 20 foot wide, and if we wanted to ask them to put resurface in front of them or add shoulder, we could. Where the development is happening, there's very few houses to the south that would be using this particular area.
But the access would be to 44 via Harbor Shores, or?
That would be the access currently. If the other developments to the west do come in, then there'd be a connection to the west as well. But currently, it's up through Harbor Shores.
So the width of those roads, if I'm looking at
Yeah, all of them are 20 feet.
all of them?
All is a very fancy word, but most of them are 20. We believe they're 20 feet, yes. All the ones to the north, that would go out. I'm not sure about the ones to the south.
Are they all going to face on, and I guess we'd have to see the site plan, but
They all do face directly onto,
Golden
Gold,
Tree?
yeah, they're all direct driveways onto that roadway. It's not preferred, but it's kind of like that fill-in or that they're filling in those lots. The densities kind of match the adjacent densities.
So what would those lot widths be typical?
I'm thinking.
Is the applicant?
The applicant is
Okay, all right, I think we need to bring the applicant up and get
I'll wait.
some of
That's all
these
for now.
details
This guy.
asked.
Good morning, Chuck Hyatt, 902 North Sinclair Avenue, Tavares. So just to give you some background on this, this was a project that was supposed to be a Phase 2, maybe 15 years ago, when Phase 1 was built. The roads were built and utilities were put in. Here we are, fast forward, coming in. We originally put in an application to the county with the inconsistency of zoning between R2 and R6, even though we had urban land use for R4. It was their suggestion to come in and rezone to be consistent with the surrounding zoning. So first question was density, asking, we're basically less than the 4 units per acre, right at 4 units per acre, to be consistent with the comp plan. Just asked about the lot width. Right now, the proposed lot widths would be 60 feet wide.
Yeah, you're at 2, but you could go up to 4.
Actually, as Mike said, we own 6.5 acres. 2.5 acres is already R6 zoning. So if you look at the little map that the concept plan, you see the hatched area. So you can see the hatched areas cutting through parts of the property. So the hatched area is R2 going to R6. The non-hatched area is already R6. So you've got a couple parcels in there that have 2 different zonings on the piece of property. So that's why we're basically, trying to be consistent with the surrounding zoning of R6. And then we concur with staff and planning and zoning. We like for your support to approve this moving forward. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
I'm looking at an aerial map, and it looks like there's like boat storage or RV storage or something on some of this. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, that's actually part of the property that's actually going to be set aside. So that road access that's there will still have access over into Shangri-La. So there's a little bridge that goes over that canal.
And the boat storage and so forth will stay there?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about right where the little boat ramp bridge was. So everything is going to be residential, and in this 6.25 or 6.5 acres, we're also, meeting the 25% open space as well.
And as far as the light, Jeff said that the signal is being designed. But you mentioned the word warranted, and I'm just wondering what the timing is on that. Is it just a matter of getting it designed and then getting the
Right.
poles ordered?
We would bring it back to the board to give us permission to put it in, but our goal would be that's practically designed, so in 26, we would definitely be under construction and have the light up. I think it's important, even without this development, that this intersection probably needs a traffic signal, and that would be our intention.
It definitely needs a
And
signal.
the design is probably 95% done right now.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Chuck or for Jeff or staff? Okay, we have 2 speaker cards. Liz Jensen, Lizeth.
Good morning, everyone. I do want to start this off saying that as soon as I'm done, I have to leave to take my daughter to a doctor's appointment. So I would like to start. I am a resident of Eagle Point Phase 2, which is the bottom of Golden Tree Drive. I strongly oppose this rezoning as the infrastructure, as you all have started to state, is not there. Actually, 2 Sundays ago, I was not able to go to my church services because a massive semi that was coming out of the Shangri-La subdivision completely blocked off Golden Tree, causing everyone that lives in those neighborhoods not to be able to leave. That is a huge problem, in my opinion. If they were to have been an emergency services would not have been able to get to us. The roads leading off of 444 off of Harbor Shores into Golden Tree Drive are subpar at best. I drive an F-150 pickup truck. If there are other vehicles that are bigger than mine, F-250, F-350, or the big delivery trucks, you have to get into the shoulder, which at this point is just vegetation, so they don't hit you. It is extremely hazardous. The curbs leading to Golden Tree Drive have caused me multiple times to hit my brakes abruptly because the people like to take it as a quarter-mile road and speed and turn into the other lane. Unfortunately, there's a lot of blind spots in this area, if you've ever been down that road, where you cannot see incoming traffic. My daughter was unfortunately a victim of this, and that is where I'm going to go take her to many of her appointments. She's 16. She was at a complete stop on 44, unfortunately, coming about 5 minutes from our home. She was hit by a driver going 10 over the speed limit while she was at a complete stop, sandwiched in between two vehicles. Her life is now altered forever as an athlete. She played softball at Eustis. They won state championship and state runner-up last year. No longer happening. The continuous construction on these roads is not meeting with the infrastructure that is required to upkeep with the influx of the people that will be residing. 24 homes in a 0.2 mile strip of land is ludicrous. It does not support. They are stating that they're going to try and bypass through Goose Creek. From what I have been told, because I am an officer on the HOA board for the Eagle Points Phase 2, is that they're going to use the subdivision that's being built to the west of this proposed rezoning. They're still going to use Eagle Point Court and then Golden Tree and then Harbor Shores. That is an incredible influx of vehicles to roads that cannot sustain it. On top of that, I know I only have 10 seconds. U.S. Water is currently in a lawsuit with the Department of Environmental Protection because they are not complying with upkeeping their water works. And you can look this up on the site. We have been in constant communication with Mr. Troy Rendell because our water is constantly subpar. And he just says, sorry, it's too expensive. We're waiting for the subdivisions to bring in the money so I can correct a missing generator. When we got the hurricane last year, we were without water for over a week.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you so much, and I
And-
excuse myself. I'm so
Yeah, we wish the best for your daughter as she recovers. Gary Weepking?
Yes.
Oh.
Good morning. My name is Gary Weepking. I live at 160 Formosa Island Road, Leesburg, Florida, 34788. I want to concur with Liz, who just spoke. I've been up here over 3 years now. We've been dealing with two other subdivisions, which y'all approved, unfortunately. And just to give you an idea, we're looking at 145 houses that are going to be added over in Harbor, well, that's Goose Creek. Then we got 120 houses on Lake Eustis Estates, that's Harbor Shores Road. And then another 24. So we're looking at about 289 lots. And we're figuring at least 2 cars, maybe more. So we're looking at 578 new cars going down Harbor Shores Road. Liz explained it very well. That road is horrendous. It curves and people, the blind curves. I know you all have been out there. And to add more traffic that they can't even handle right now is absurd. And my concern is too about the traffic light. She's talking about her daughter that got hit out there. There's been so many accidents. We've lived in that area for 12 and a half years. And it's about time they put a signal up. But to add more is ridiculous. My concern is with the developer called Berglund is wanting to probably have another access instead of getting out to Goose Creek Road like he already has. He can't get a right turn lane off of 44. So he might want to decide to use that as a cut through on Holland to go to Forest Lake and add the additional traffic. It's just very concerning, and I want you commissioners to keep that in mind. Even with 24 houses, that's more traffic. The road is horrible. You've been out there too, I know you have. You talked to Jason Serra, if I'm not mistaken. Also, I'm concerned as far as Shangri-La. They're taking away the storage area that they have in that community. Also, there's a boat ramp that's one of the amenities to our community. And from looking at the site plan, it looks like they've got the lots divided as such just to allow a little opening so that a fire truck can get through off of the Golden Tree Road. So I would hope you guys give a serious consideration about this traffic, and you know for the last 3 years, we've been dealing with it, and you've approved 2 of the subdivisions. This one I wish you would turn down. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anyone online? No, okay, all right. Bringing it back, Commissioner Smith, it is in your district. I'm sure we all have comments, but I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, it's in my district. This is a rezoning, not of the whole thing, because he already has R6 on part of his property. It's R2 in the other part. Looking at the density is 3.75, I believe I read in here. And we're going to have a traffic light up there at Harbor Shores and 44, which would take care of some of our safety issues, because the safety issues are not going to go away if these houses are built or are not built. Again, this property is consistent with everything around it. The property owner has his property rights to continue on with phase 2 of what he's doing, so I would have to be in support of this for the reasons stated below.
Are we just kind of going around?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a hard no. The infrastructure is a complete failure. I think it's well documented. And, you know, this argument of consistency, it's consistent with what's around it. If you build 2 apartment complexes, the 2 lots next to them are consistent with more apartment complexes. The logic is like a domino effect. Everything's consistent with bad development if you put bad development in. So I just reject the idea of that it's a hard and fast rule that everything must be consistent. You're supposed to have diverse uses. So obviously, I'm fine with some of the housing that's already there. We don't need to keep sort of unquestioningly replicating the exact same types of development, which causes obviously long-term issues. So I'm a hard no on this.
So the question I have is, this is not on a separate piece of property that's down the road. Have you driven out there and seen these properties?
It's been a few years, but I've spent a lot of time out there. Haven't gone to Eustis High School.
I'm going to oppose the rezoning request as well, consistent with a couple years ago, another zoning request and future land use map. I think it may have only been a zoning request, a rezoning request in the past couple years, but being consistent with that, I'm going to oppose this as well for similar reasons. If I look to the basis of review for zoning approval, rezoning approval, I do not see this meeting the addressing safety concerns. Has been noted, these roads are 18 to 20 foot wide. I think in some areas they're actually a little bit less on some of the side roads. I know they are for sure. I think that poses a serious problem without a plan to address all the roads, to get them to be of current, standard. I think it's going to be a continuous issue that's going to be exacerbated by adding even just 24 more units to it. Again, referencing the way things have changed through the years. Now there's Amazon that is coming in daily, 2 to 3 cars per household, as well as concern about our own fire truck. And I want this to be clear as well about our concern about fire equipment apparatus, EMS being able to access the site as quickly as possible. So citing those concerns, I am not in support of this rezoning request.
Commissioner Morris?
I prefer not to see anything out there until the light's in.
Yeah, and I'm real concerned about, the issues that were raised about the narrow roads, the curves, the dangerous situations. I know when the last hearing came through, it's one thing when you have infill and you actually have infrastructure there that can accommodate the infill. This may be infill in the sense that there's development all around it. They've got R2. They have land, they have property rights. They can use their property rights the way the property rights are now. It's not exactly what they want, but we're not saying you can't use the property. We're just saying we don't want to add to the density and make the problems out there even worse. And I think that Commissioner Morris's point about until the light is there, I don't think there should be any consideration for adding more density than otherwise can develop on the current zoning.
I thought this was going to be before, I mean, after the light was installed. Is that not right?
Currently, we have not submitted the PSP nor construction plans yet. So with PSP and construction plans, let's just say second quarter next year, the homes could start being built. So it could fall into play if the county has light in by the end of, just say, 2026. I mean, that's probably realistically on the county side, being the light being at the end of 2026.
Okay, so some of my argument was the safety factor on 44. So if that's not in place, then that would take that away.
Understand?
All right, so
Okay.
they're
Yeah, I'm good with waiting until the light's installed.
and I think, I mean, based on what we're hearing, though, I think that the owners and the owner's representative
have
need to
one
be
question.
looking at all of the other issues.
I have one question. If we're denied on the zoning today, hearing the safety, do we need to wait a full year if the client wants to wait until the light is in place to come back?
So the board has the option to deny it without prejudice, which would then allow them to reapply sooner than the 1 year, which is in your current code.
I'd feel more comfortable with that.
I make a motion that we deny the request without prejudice.
Second.
All right, and when we take the vote, though, I don't want a vote in favor of denying without prejudice to be an indication that any of us voting in favor of the postponement.
No, it just gives us an opportunity to see what it would look like.
Yes, to see if there's any other considerations that are addressed, but there's no guarantee that that means that it's an approval when it comes back.
Sure, but the only reason I would vote against denying it without prejudice and prefer to do it with prejudice is simply because light or no light, I wouldn't want to wait, I wouldn't want to consider it in the next year. I think
Well,
a year from now is a good
5
time.
years from now, so
Just again,
you're a no 5 years from now.
are you sure?
Well,
I'm a no until the road width issue's taken care of.
right, so we need to see what's going on.
Yeah, and just to be transparent, I mean, my issues with safety go beyond just the traffic. The signal's important, the signal's critical, but I'm still concerned about the width of the roads, the blind curves and so forth, and just exacerbating that situation
I
out there.
don't think, they may not wait for another year or till the light or whatever, so if that's the case, I think we're allowed 16 units now, so we'll just come back in with the 16 units PSP. So I think we can go either way.
Okay, all right. So the motion and the second is on denying without prejudice.
Can we just do an informal poll with, because you guys, I mean, they're gonna come in at 16 soon, right? Pretty soon. Then what's the point of the no prejudice thing?
Yeah, just deny.
There's a
Sounds
motion
like
in a
it's gonna fail
second.
anyway.
Well, there's a motion in a second. You can always deny this when you come up with your own.
Right.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. All right, so that fails. So do we have another motion to
Move to just disapprove.
deny? At first and a second to deny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, so that passes 3-2. And it would be a 12-month period to bring back. Okay, all right, moving then to tab 6. Commissioner Parks, if you'll cover for me, I'll be right back. And I can hear what's going on even when I walk.
Okay, tab 6, Mike?
Thank you. For the record, Mike Fitzgerald, Office of Planning and Zoning Director. This item is entitled Parset Outdoor Storage. Just by way of background, the board may recall that this item came before the board on September 2nd, and the board requested that the applicant bring this back as a planned industrial zoning rather than a straight industrial. So the requested action is to rezone approximately 9.3 acres from urban residential R6 and community commercial C2 district to Planned Industrial District, MP, to facilitate an outdoor storage facility for RV and trailer storage, and grant a waiver to the landscape buffer regulations. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of this item. The location is State Road 19, west of Lake Smith Road. The applicant is not proposing any structures at this time, but the proposed use is outdoor storage or a truck yard as allowed under the Planned Industrial District. The applicant provided a noise study stating that sound levels would meet applicable codes. The rezoning request is consistent with adjacent neighboring properties which are industrial in nature. And there is a surrounding industrial future land use. City of Umatilla has provided documentation that central sewage capacity is available to the property, but not central water. A 4-inch well is proposed as the water source. Lake County Fire Station number 20 is located half a mile from the property. Transportation concurrency deems this as a de minimis impact. The applicant is requesting a deviation from the LDR for the northern and southern boundary of the property, asking for a type A landscape buffer of 15 feet with 3 canopy trees, a single row of hedges, and 2 ornamental trees, as opposed to what the code would allow, which would be C, D, or E-type buffers. An updated environmental assessment will be submitted at the time of site plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Okay, the applicant is here.
Good morning, I'm Ron Sykes, attorney in Winter Garden, representing the applicant. My address is 310 South Dillard Street, Winter Garden, Florida. We have, as you will recall, at the last meeting, there was some concern as to what the permitted uses might be if we went with the heavy industrial rezoning that we had applied for. So we took the opportunity to go back to the drawing board between then and now, and to work with staff to come up with a proposed MP district, planned industrial district, that would severely, frankly, limit our options for use of the property to meet the concerns expressed by the neighbors. The proposed ordinance that is part of your package under tab 6 is consistent with what we are prepared to do, and the main variation or waiver that we're looking for is with regard to the landscape buffer, simply because this is going to be an RV storage facility, boat and RV storage facility. It will not generate the kind of noise that a heavy industrial use would use. So for those reasons, we believe that the staff recommendation is consistent with what we want. The ordinance as drafted is consistent with what we want. And what I'd like to do is just reserve some time to respond to any concerns that might be expressed by others.
Okay, all right, we can go ahead and get our concern speaker cards up. So first one is Angel.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Angel Claudio, 37936 State Road, Umatilla. I'm here today to ask for your support and respectfully request that the rezoning of 38205 State Road, Umatilla Plan to Industrial not be granted. For years, the property owners operate in a legal gun range known as Senate without the required zoning or conditional use permits. A CUP application was filed in April of 2023, after several law and code enforcement that these illegal operations finally ceased. The CUP application was later withdrawn November 9, 2023, I believe to zoning issues. Today, the property owner is applying to rezone this land from its current designation to planned industrial to operate an RV storage. Planned industrial is businesses for higher noise intensities, prevention of environmental hazards, or impacts like manufacturing or processing plants. And they do offer flex noise standards. A planned industrial zoning classification is not required to operate an outdoor storage facility, as evidenced by existing zoning regulations in county which outline specific guidelines for outdoor storage and commercial properties. Therefore, the rationale behind the zoning request should be carefully scrutinized. On September 2nd, 2025, the county commissioners meet with the applicant to advise he should apply for a zoning consistent with the business plan's intended or overall use, which would be planned commercial. However, today he's requesting planned industrial. The overall comprehensive plan is malleable, and that is what we are here to discuss today. While the applicant and their attorney emphasize the 2030 comprehensive plan, it is vital to recognize that that comprehensive plan is a living document and malleable. Furthermore, we must consider the future of this property. If it's zoned planned industrial and eventually sold, the new owner could introduce a variety of activities that would be detrimental to the community. I support the property owners in their efforts to utilize the land for business. My family owns a business that's a 1/10 of a mile from the property. However, it must be the right type of business in this community and zoned accordingly. The community should be protected from potential nuisance, environmental harm. The rezoning proposal arises significant concerns given the history of illegal operations on the property. I urge you to deny this request for planned industrial rezoning to protect the quality of life, property values, and the overall impact in the community today and for the future, as it's not required for an out-fee storage. And I have a couple of pictures here of seeing what it is and what it was. I don't know where exactly I can put it and what my concerns are with the property, if you allow me. What we have here is what we have on Exhibit B. You can see where he has on the Exhibit B where he's planning on putting, that was to the plan that was given to you, where he has all these outdoor storage facilities, but in the back, where I'm concerned that he does have a rifle range back there, and it's still there today. I can't see if,
Just a moment. Can we get this overhead projector switched over, please?
on the X? Okay. I want you to look at Exhibit B, where he has submitted Exhibit B on the concept plan of his outdoor storage.
Sir, give him just a minute. It hasn't switched yet.
Wait, you'll see it on the TV in front of you. There you
Okay, there you go. If you could see right there, Exhibit B, where he has basically his firing range. And if you look at Exhibit B, he has all the way around the property, he has where he's planned on this concept plan, where he's planning on putting all these things. But in the back, he has left his firing range. Our concern is that in the future, he's going to rope-a-dope is what this is. He's going to come back and say, I'm going to do this here, but later on, once he gets his industrial zoning, he's going to go ahead and further again, continue plans to open up a gun range. The only thing we've seen is the gun range that he operated, that is right there, and it's clearly there to see on maps. This is on Google Maps, we can all see it, which he's trying to fire across into the wetlands. And this is what the community's concerns of what he's doing. And this whole rezoning thing is just a rope-a-dope. This whole business plan is just a rope-a-dope. That's our concern. And with that industrial zoning, it does allow for a different noise variances, and that's our concerns. We do not want this happening again. And the only efforts we've seen out of the property owners in this case is enhancing that firing range that he has there that's been active since 2023. That's our concern. Thank you for your time.
Sir, we're going to need you to email that to the staff so that we can put it as part of the record, whatever you're showing on your phone.
This is on Google Maps.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
just screenshot
Screenshot
that,
it and email
then
it.
send it, you can send it to me and I'll send it to staff, or you can send, we'll get it into the
And
record.
it is, he has it outlined over here on his Exhibit B in the back. Actually, you can see it on the back there. Exactly that square pad is what he has on Exhibit B that he has omitted from his plan designs. But I will do that.
Okay, the next card is from Kelly Fortune.
Kelly Fortune, 37936 State Road 19, Umatilla. Good morning. I'm here to address the rezoning of 38205 State Road 19 and its potential implications for the community. The proposal involves rezoning the property to a planned industrial district, MP, to facilitate an outdoor storage facility for RVs, and it requests a waiver to the landscaping standards of the LDR. If granted as requested today, it could potentially allow the return of a shooting range. Once rezoned, options to address the many concerns associated with the shooting range or other industrial facility will be limited. I can appreciate that the property owner is looking to establish another business in Lake County, but it must be the right business for this residential area that continues to grow each day. The residents of this community remember when the owner operated an illegal gun range on this very property, less than 1/10 of a mile from my home. His actions demonstrated a blatant disregard for this community and its residents. Even after hearing our concerns, he ignored us, he increased his outreach, and he even identified us by name on social media as complaining about the noise. And after withdrawing his CUP, he continued to work on the property to maintain a shooting range. He rearranged the layout, added berms, and shifted the direction of gunfire. The most recent firings were as of June 2025, a few months ago. Ironically, in my opinion, it doesn't look like he has done any work on this property to be ready to open an outdoor storage facility, as it is still set up for a gun range. And I have no reason to believe his concern for our property values, well-being, and peace of mind has changed. Today, I request that you deny the planned industrial zoning permit and issue a permit based on what is required to operate an outdoor RV storage facility, which is planned commercial. We as a neighborhood and community have a concern that if granted a planned and industrial zoning permit, the owner will once again operate the outdoor gun range or similar operation that will create noise and environmental pollution. He has no regard for the residents of this area. And as you've heard, the 2030 comprehensive plan for this area has been referenced many times by the owner and his legal team. However, this plan was never intended to be an unchangeable edict. While plans are essential, this one was designed with a built-in understanding that it could be amended to reflect the genuine needs and evolution of Lake County. To ignore our current residential expansion and the concerns of our community would be a disservice to our residents and our future. Please deny the planned industrial zoning permit, which is not required to operate an RV outdoor storage facility. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone online? No, okay, all right. Bringing it back, so would you like to address comments that were made?
Yes, I would, thank you. I think there's a misunderstanding or disconnect as to what the proposed ordinance requires and what the limitations are. If you look at page 2 of 6 of the proposed ordinance, which is under section 1A, it's entitled Permitted Land Uses. 1, covered and uncovered RV and trailer storage spaces, truck yard. 2, accessory uses directly associated with the above uses may be approved by the county manager or designee. Any other use of the site not specified above shall require approval of an amendment to this ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners. That is a limitation that would absolutely prevent the use of this property for anything other than the storage of RVs and trailers, and would certainly prevent us from using it as a gun range. Just to respond specifically to the comments made by the other speakers, there has been no code enforcement activity, no police activity, no arrests, no charges, no criminal activity of any kind during my client's ownership of this property. Second, as I've indicated, the speakers are confused as to the limits of the proposed ordinance, which staff, I believe, is recommending, and we are certainly requesting. Third, the limited use, Mr. Claudio suggested that there was room for a gun range on the back part of the parcel. The limited use that is in the ordinance applies to the entire 9.3 acre parcel. There is no room for a gun range when the ordinance that is before you is limited to RV and trailer storage. Finally, the planned commercial that is proposed by Ms. Fortune is inconsistent with the existing land use plan. There is, in fact, a land use plan that's in effect, and it is a living, breathing document, but there are very stringent requirements that must be met in order for it to be amended. What we are dealing with today is a land use plan that calls for this to be an industrial zone. What you have before you is an industrial zoning with a very severe limitation to the use of the entire parcel. Because of that, we believe we've met all of the objections, and we would ask that you approve it as submitted.
Is there any reason, though, on the site plan that area seems to be left out of usable space where the gun range had been?
That would be for future expansion. The only reason is it makes sense to lay it out the way we have at this point. That would be developed into a preliminary site plan that would be submitted to staff for approval. But certainly, if it's going to be used as a gun range, whether it's developed or not right away, that's going to be prohibited because of the limitations of the ordinance. So right now, it would be vacant land in the back there. But ultimately, if it's going to be developed, it couldn't be developed and used for anything other than trailer RV storage.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm trying to figure out why they're, want a waiver on landscaping.
Yes, it's not a waiver as much as it is as a reduction. In order to utilize the property in the most efficient way, what we're requesting is that the buffer be reduced from that which would otherwise be applicable if we were going with straight zoning rather than an MP district. And what we are saying is that if it's going to be trailer storage and RV storage, which is what the limitation is, then we're not going to be generating the kind of noise or the kind of activities that might otherwise be associated with an industrial use. So it's going to be a very benign, nearly silent operation there, where there's only going to be storage facilities. And because of that, we think that the 15-foot wide buffer is more than adequate to provide visual and aesthetic separation and not have to worry about needing more separation because of noise, because there will be no appreciable noise generated.
I don't think I'm not worried about the noise. I'm worried about living next door to it and having to look at all those RVs sitting out there.
Right.
That's what I'm after.
Sure, I understand.
Why would you not have your landscaping there to help your neighbors?
Well, you will. You'll have a 15-foot wide corridor between the boundary line and any parking activities with the required shrubbery and trees that would be within that 15-foot boundary. So it's a question of reasonability, and if you require what might otherwise be applicable to any industrial use, then we're just talking about moving it in rather than eliminating it altogether. I think the visual intrusion, if there is any, would be more than adequately compensated by the 15-foot border.
So is it not wide enough? Is that what we're hearing? It's not wide enough to get what you want in there if you don't get this landscaping waiver?
Correct. What we need to be able to do is, we counted the votes last time we were here, and so we were able to see that there is no appetite for there to be heavy industrial use of this property among the commission. So we appreciated that. We recognized it. We talked to staff. We said, what makes sense? And so my client agreed to the very limited use for RV and trailer storage and said, if we're going to be limited to that for the foreseeable future, then what we want to do is be able to utilize it for that purpose to a reasonable degree. And if we can't shrink the landscape buffer somewhat, then we're going to be denied the reasonable use of our property.
What about using that vacant area? You can't get any more spaces if you use that vacant area that's the old gun range?
The area to the rear, and I might ask our engineer to address that or Mr. Holmes to address that, but the area to the rear is, the access to that area is more limited as you go further back on the property. So the ability to effectively utilize that for trailer and RV storage is more limited than it is on the front of the parcel, which I believe is substantially wider at that point.
Could the engineer or the owner address that?
Yeah, Dave?
Dave Holmes, 4350 Baywood Boulevard, Mount Dora. Let me start, if I may, in June of 2018. The only reason we were pursuing heavy manufacturing was because that's what the county told us we should do. So I have a letter. So for the last how many years we've been under the restraints that the county has told us and every neighbor there that we cannot use our property as zone C2 and R6 because of the 2030 coming land use. So the county, I asked them in 2018, can I use this property for RV storage and the manager's office? And I was told that we could, but that we needed to have it rezoned to planned industrial HM to allow RV storage. Okay? So we were villainized because we were wanting to put heavy manufacturing. No, our objective since 2018 was to put boat and RV storage. We considered doing some type of manufacturing of loaded ammunition on the property because of the zoning. And the ATF contacted the county and they said absolutely not until it's rezoned to this, heavy manufacturing. So we nixed that. The gun range part of it, originally I was doing some concealed weapons classes out there. The county came out and reviewed it and said it's fine. You're teaching lessons, you're using your property, go for it. Okay? So that grew, that's on me. The neighbors that have spoken were calling law enforcement, telling them bullets were hitting their house a tenth of an acre or a tenth of a mile down the road. Because my children are involved in law enforcement, and I said enough of that. So that has been done since 2023. We stopped that, November of 2023. The little portion that you see in the back is a small fraction of what we were using, and it's simply for a family utilization. We go back there and shoot, we go back there and do that. We haven't even done that because our neighbors come and videotape our children and grandchildren coming onto our property because this council told them to prove to us or prove to y'all that it was used commercially. He needed to videotape everybody. He goes across the street of 19 on a golf cart with a bullhorn screaming at us while we're trying to use our property. He comes on the neighbor's yard with a bullhorn screaming at us because we're trying to use our property for a little family gathering. So y'all have only gotten one portion of that story, okay? So what we're looking at doing, that I've spent almost $100,000 to develop through the process of Lake County in 2 years of my time, is a boat and RV storage facility. Now, the back portion of that property is currently, I've got it just bermed up because that's where we were going back and doing a little shooting. Has nothing to do with commercial. The county made it very clear to me the difference between a personal gun range and a commercial gun range. There's no private gun range. I think that was the exact words of this council. I understand that now. I didn't understand that when I initially got into that. I didn't understand the CUP and the requirements that other gun ranges had to go through. I understand that now. Don't have the pockets nor the pursuit of that. However, if there's a little space in the back of this industrial property, I'd like to know, and I'd like it to be stated to my neighbors, that I would still be able to go back and fire a handgun or a rifle on an industrial piece of property if it's not used for commercial use. So that's the only issue that we're talking about here. The 15 feet, if you look at the property, the whole front of the property is blocked by the railroad and a huge area of growth. You can't hardly even see 7/8 of the property. On the south side, there is an FDOT easement that's 50 feet wide that has trees thicker than any kind of berm you would ever see. And there's a ditch in it. So to put 200 and 300 bushes on the side of that is just ridiculous. Nobody's ever going to see it. So all we're asking for is to lighten, because we're being restricted. Because here's the thing, if I have to go with the full landscape plan that's going to cost me $100,000 to do this, then I'd like it to at least be light manufacturing where I can, if I need to, sell the property and make some money on it. That's all I'm asking for. If you want to restrict me to RV and boat storage, I want to drop it down to a 15-foot barrier. I want to put in the type A landscape barrier. And if my family wants to go to the back of the property in a safe manner where I have 5 acres of wetland as a buffer plus a berm that I'll install myself, problem solved. The neighbors have gotten it to the point they don't want to hear any kind of anything. I'm not the only person that fires a gun in Lake County. The recycling plant does. There's people all around. Behind them, duck hunters and everything else, and I get blamed for all that. My family, we haven't even been out there. The grass is this tall. We haven't even been out there in months and months and months. So a hobby that we pursued, we're not even able to do it anymore. So if there's questions that you have of me concerning this, I can show you the receipts where I've spent almost $100,000 to pursue the boat and RV storage. So if I had enough money to do a rope-a-dope to build a 15-yard range for that, what kind of money you think you can make off that? That's absolutely preposterous. Look at the size. And it's basically big enough for 2 or 3 people to stand beside and shoot a handgun. That's it. And that'd be the only way that we would ever use that.
I've got a question. The way this property goes way back, on the site plan, we just see like where the RV storage would be, and then this area that we've been calling the old gun range, and then it continues on back. Is that all wetlands behind there?
It's all wetlands. We've done landscape studies. We've had our neighbors, of course, called Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They've come out and graciously donated a landscape markings for us. That's great, no problem. That saved me money. Every time we've tried to burn a little bit of brush legally, they've called the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, they've called the fire department, they've called the Forestry Commission.
I think we know, we understand that there is
But I want you to appreciate what the stress and stuff that we've been put under, and without ever mentioning to anybody about any of this. And so the area that you see in the back, we haven't messed with, and we understand that that's going to have to be modified and taken down. The issue is partly going to be, and my engineer can speak into this, is with the water retention. If we can't do the water retention to the south the way that it currently is drawn, then we may have to utilize part of that in the back for water retention. But you're so close to the water table that I don't know, I'm not an engineer, I don't know that that would actually be utilized. I personally have a Connex box that I had to move off of the property onto the agricultural piece next to me because that's what I was storing my tractor in. But of course, the neighbor didn't like that, and so we got a chance to move that. If we put the RV storage up front, we have a little bit of area back there in the back to put a Connex box, where we can put a tractor, we can put the bush hog, we can put the box blade, the kind of equipment we would need to maintain the property. If we run trailers all the way back to the wetlands, we've got nowhere to put anything to maintain the property.
Okay, all right. Do you have a question?
I do have a question addressing, and maybe for Melanie.
So, just so we can let the speaker sit down.
Okay, yeah, yes.
It's not for the speaker?
Yeah, no, it's not for the speaker.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So how much of a waiver on how much of a difference on the buffer, refresh my memory on that, as being requested between the type A and what would be required for industrial? Regarding the gun usage, I mean, that is, if it's private usage, we're pretty limited on that.
Except that it's a planned industrial, so it's got an ordinance that applies to what's allowed on the property.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask Melanie how that would apply, I know there's some laws in terms of personal use of guns at the state level. I just wanted to see how that might apply here.
Yeah, correct. I mean, there are statutes regarding being able to shoot weapons on your own property. I mean, they're very detailed about size in relation to residential property and those types of things. However, if you are doing a planned zoning on this property and it's only going to allow RV storage, then my opinion to the board would be that they would not be able to use that for recreational purposes.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to ask. And then the buffer requirements, and then is it safe to say it's really the side opposite of where the proposed stormwater pond is that is going to be the issue with the buffering of the neighbors?
The waiver is requested for type A.
Generally.
For the north and south. Generally, a type D buffer would be required between planned industrial and agriculture, so that would be on the north side. And that is an 80-foot wide buffer. Between planned industrial and C2, that's a type C buffer, which is anywhere from 15, 25 to 50 feet. So it would be, in this case, it would be 15 feet We're talking about 4 canopy trees, 3 ornamental trees, and 2 rows of shrubs, whereas the type A buffer requested is 3 canopy trees, 1 single row of hedges, and 2 ornamental trees per 100 feet. Planned industrial to R6 is an E-type buffer. That is 50 feet in width, and that has 9 canopy trees, 7 ornamentals, 2 rows of shrubs, a 4-foot-high berm, and 6-foot-high wall on top of the berm. So in looking at the future land use and zoning maps, particularly the zoning map, you have planned industrial versus agriculture to the north. That would be waved down to an A-type buffer of 15 feet in width. Then the MP to C2, instead of a C-type buffer with as much vegetation as required, it still would be 15 feet wide, but would not have the vegetation that would normally be required. And then to the R6, that is an E-type buffer, that's 50 feet, so we're waving that down to 15 feet. So primarily, it's the north and south that has the biggest waiver, from 80 feet down to 15 and 50 down to 15.
From 80 to 15, then 50 to 15.
50 to 15.
Right, 50 to 15, okay, and
Yeah,
that's.
this is on, for clarity, this is on page 4 of 15 in your staff report, is what I'm reading from.
And I'm just thinking again about the practicality of it, where, because the buffer is a big issue when you have people living next door, obviously. And that's on the north side then, right?
Correct. The agriculture would be,
I mean, it's really not, it's only,
Yeah, show the area.
it's only a
you have
problem
a-
in that one area, right?
you have a single-family home that would be considered to the north of the property.
Okay, yeah, but obviously the rest, being that it's in a wetland and it goes all the way out there, that's really not an issue.
Right, so perhaps the waiver could end at the other property. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it just seems like that part along the north would be the only part that, where it abuts the home.
That would cut into the usable portion of the property and how much, how many storage units they could have.
How many more feet is it? You said it's,
It's a type D buffer is 80 feet in width. They're requesting a 15-foot width.
80 versus 15?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm being corrected. There are options of 80, 40, and 30. So let's call it 30 feet.
80, 40, and 30 versus 15, so 30 versus.
30 is the minimum, 30 down to 15. Yeah, I apologize for the confusion.
Was there discussion of a wall to mitigate a waiver, a wall in that portion? When I say a wall, a decorative fence wall.
There was no discussion of a wall as part of the buffering.
Like along that portion where the house is.
That would be a condition of the ordinance that perhaps the applicant may or may not agree to.
The comment was made that if they couldn't get their stormwater along that south side, they might have to use that area that had been the gun range to help with stormwater storage. I mean, if you lost 15 feet on the north side, that would impact probably as well, whether you could put that drainage along the south side. You might have to move it. Would they have to, so let's just say that we said, all right, we're okay with the waiver on the south, but not on the north. We'd want them to go to 30. They could proceed with a revised site plan without having it to come back. It wouldn't have to come back to us.
I believe those provisions for the landscaping would go into the text of the ordinance, and then we can apply that to the site plan, and it does not have to come back to you.
Okay, all right. So one thing I wanted to ask staff was in the ordinance itself, where it references the permitted uses, and it says in parentheses truck yard, can that be stricken? I feel that that creates ambiguity. What's being permitted is RV and trailer storage spaces, not a truck yard. Truck yard denotes something, I think, different than RV and storage spaces. It's under A, it's on page 2 of 6.
Yeah, I'm looking at the code to see how we define truck yard. So the truck yard definition is the storage of vehicles, equipment, and materials together with related facilities accessory to the use.
Yeah, that could be materials. That could be a variety of things. I feel like what we're approving is RV and trailer storage, which is more of a less intrusive use than storing construction materials or whatever else might come along with
You
that.
can strike that as part of your
And
motion.
then another question is on the accessory uses, where it gives authority to the county manager, any and other, to allow discretion on uses. I feel like that should be stricken as well. The concern here is that everybody, we've got neighbors on each side of the highway and we've got neighbors that aren't getting along. And what we need to do is eliminate anything that could create a problem in the future as far as, well, this means this or this means that, and, it's an interpretation. So I feel like number 2 should be stricken as well. So it's either RV storage and trailer storage.
So I would suggest that if you're going to make a change to accessory uses, then you're going to have to list out what they're allowed to have on the property, such as a rental office, equipment storage building. That's what the accessory uses is tied to, is things that would go along with operating that property.
Madam Chair, may I say something?
Is it to this question of what accessory uses are being requested? At least, yeah, just let's keep it short as we try to wrap
Dave
this
Holmes,
up.
4350 Baywood Boulevard. There's going to get to a point where you handicap that property so much that it's not worth doing the project. So what we're looking for is, when you use the term boat and RV storage, there are other people that are going to come in that are going to need to store whatever. If it's not a boat and or an RV, if they want to put a utility trailer or whatever, are you going to handicap me to the point that I can only do that and I can't do what the other storage facilities in Lake County are doing? Look at what you have in Tavares. They can park other vehicles, commercial vehicles in there, different things like that. You're getting to the point now, you're going to handicap my property now that I can't do light manufacturing, which is what the county suggested I do, to the point that it's going to be so specific that you've limited the marketing of the property.
I think everybody understands what a boat, RV, trailer storage looks like.
What is the
So
definition of an outdoor storage facility in Lake County? Because all the ones that I've ever seen involved anything from a utility trailer to a guy doing some type of construction thing where he has a 8x20 trailer he can park out there. So we going to define it where it has to be a boat and a RV? It can't be a trailer?
It says in here, trailer and RV, so the only thing I'm not seeing here is boat. So boat would need to be in there. RV, boat, and trailer. What you just described, the trailer, that would be somebody's construction
The definitions that
trailer.
we've received involving truck yards too came from the county, not from us.
Okay,
So it's an
you're,
outdoor
look,
storage facility.
we're trying to get your property to a point where it can be used for a reasonable use that's consistent with the land use, all right? So, it's a little concerning that it sounds like you're, it's a little concerning that we're trying to broaden the uses as opposed to actually narrow
I
it
just
down
want to be
to.
fair with the other facilities in Lake County, the other usage of storage, outdoor storage facilities in Lake County.
Boats, RVs, and trailers is what I see in the other outdoor storage areas in Lake County, not places
I'm
where you
happy with
put
that.
construction
I'm happy
material,
with
not
that.
places where you put semi-trucks. It's boat, RV, and trailer storage.
Okay, you didn't mention
Oh,
that. When you
can I-
get so granular, though, that it shuts down.
Can I ask you a question,
Yes, sir.
please? I think the kicker here is truck yard.
Right.
And you said that the county made you put the truck yard in there?
That's what the engineer understood that those ramifications were.
So if we take the word truck yard out, you're okay with that?
I have no problems not putting it.
Oh, we'll take the word truck yard out and be done with it.
That's all I'm concerned about, is that you get so granular with that definition. If a guy comes up and he's wanting to make a living and park a drywall trailer that he uses for that, he can't park it on that property.
Well, it says trailer, so I don't see why you can't have a drywall
That's fair.
trailer.
That's fine.
So- And that was already in there, trailer.
Yeah, and as far as the buffer is concerned, like I said, on that north side, the property is so narrow up there the way it is now, that once you start making those buffers so large that regardless of whether I do it or somebody else, it's gonna be so small that you're not gonna be able to do anything with that by the time you do your water retention. So we're just simply asking for that 15-foot buffer. If you go around most of the utility places here in Lake County, they have like one strip with a row of bushes, like another industrial setup.
Right, but I think our concern is we got a house right next to it.
But who decided that in 2030, that whole area is going to be an industrial park?
All right, you're very argumentative, you know? We're trying
I'm
to
standing my
get to
ground
yes
because it's
here,
my
and-
livelihood. It's my livelihood. It's real easy to say you can't do this or
Problem is
can't do
everybody- We
that.
all agree, so I don't understand whether it should be
Yeah,
argued.
why argue when we're trying to just
Fair enough.
get to a place that we all thought we were in agreement about? But no, we can't.
May I say one thing?
No,
though?
no, let's not go there.
It's north and south. The buffering is aboard, there's residents on the north and south side, there's a home. And there's children living there at the time.
Oh.
There is, so when we.
Okay, all right, but all right, yeah, there is, is the house on C2? The house is on that C2 property, or is it down on the, it's on the C2 property? So there are, I believe there's two, I thought there were two houses.
Yeah, there's a house there, but I mean, the reason why I brought the buffer up as being more probably important on the north is because you would have the stormwater pond that's there on the south, right? Am I seeing this correct? So how wide is that?
That's the initial design, yes.
Yeah.
I move to approve the project with the conditions as discussed.
But
So I'm kind of wondering, as discussed, so I think what's been discussed is covered and uncovered RV and trailer storage space, period.
And we're going to have,
And we're going to take out to where the manager can change, manager or designee can change anything on the site without board approval.
I also had, we were going to add boat, and then if we're going to take
Well,
out,
yeah, we're going to add boats.
and then if we're going to take out county manager designee approval for accessory uses, what accessory uses would?
allow an office related to the storage facility.
And equipment storage.
Yeah,
Maintenance.
office and equipment storage for the site maintenance, and that would be your only accessory uses, so it's not wide open.
One other quick question.
Wait, can we, I think,
I can restate the motion. I think our county attorney did a great job making copious notes. Maybe she can specifically mention those three. I believe it's three conditions.
Correct. So the changes we would make is we would add boat to permitted uses, strike truck yard, adjust accessory uses to remove approval by county manager or designee, and add additional accessory uses to include an office and maintenance storage building only.
Move to approve
Okay.
that specific list of conditions.
all right, you made a motion, we,
I have a question. Go ahead. Somebody second it for,
all right, we have a second, so let's continue to discuss, but Commissioner Smith, he's in the middle of his comments.
I was going to go through what Anthony was trying to.
Okay, so-
Commissioner Sabatini was trying to approve, but I believe I got it right. Covered storage, covered and uncovered RV, boat, and trailer storage, period. Allows you to have an office, because you're going to have an office or something to keep your equipment, maybe some extra supplies for RVs, cleaning material, right? Good to go. I wasn't on, sorry.
I just thought you were talking soft.
Yeah,
right.
it's my ears. Landscape buffer at 15 feet. I see that you have a pretty good landscape buffer already against that house. You're not planning on ripping down every tree, right? You're planning on keeping those trees there and then going in between them, right? So, I mean, I did look at it, and there is a pretty good buffer there already against that residential house. So I think planned industrial, I believe this is a good fit for it.
All right, so those are your comments. I would like to add, I know you had comments.
you want me to go?
Can I just throw out a couple of things? So my concern is, as long as that retention area is along the south side, that creates a nice width buffer. But if that has to go away, now you're 15 feet away from the house that's over on that side, and then you're only 15 feet away from the house that's over on that other parcel. And as far as your buffer goes, I mean, I would be, you know, if 30's the minimum, 15 is what they're asking for. I'm just concerned that it's so close to the house. So give them the option if they want to put if they want to put up a fence to make up for the fact that they don't have that extra 15 feet. Otherwise, just add the extra 15 feet in.
That's just for me to Jennifer.
If I may respond to the fence issue, there is in fact a 6-foot fence, high fence that will be around the entire perimeter of the property. And we can add something that would shield the visual view through that as a part of the conditions of the motion.
Okay, that's really important. The fence is very important.
Well, yeah, you just answered my question. And I was going to say, because there was some talk about a buffer and 15 or 30 foot, but then buffers that are just open, but they're a buffer versus one that's densely vegetated. But if you've got that wall that's there, that's fine, or in combination with it being densely vegetated, so that it's more than just a wall that you're looking at, it's vegetation and a wall too.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, the vegetation will be on the inside of the wall or fence. And I don't want to limit it to a wall because there's costs associated with that. We're going to have a fence anyway, so we could agree to do it in a way that would be some kind of an opaque.
Opaque is the word.
Blockage.
Okay.
That would be part of that.
Yeah,
On both the north and south sides.
Madam Chairman, if I can clarify, you said you were going to fence the entire perimeter of the property? You're going to do the entire property, or
Well-
you're going to do the sides?
Project area.
Because I guarantee it will become an issue if you don't do the entire property, if that's what the ordinance says.
Well, I believe for security purposes, we're going to have to do a perimeter fence.
Right, but it usually is going to be a chain link fence, right?
If you're referring to the construction site,
It's probably the project area.
3 acres on the front. You can't get to the back of that property.
So that just needs to be clear in the ordinance, because you don't want to get in a situation where it's being interpreted as the whole thing. So the site, shown on the site plan, there would be a perimeter fence.
Yes, and I think Mr. Clutch could, could speak into that, because there is, like I said, there is a 50-foot right-of-way to the southern part of that property that we're not supposed to restrict or be involved in. So then there's a wetlands line on top of that. Then there's a Lake County restriction as far as how close I can be to that wetlands line. So that's the question regarding the retention, is if Lake County says we don't want to put a dip there because you're within 50 feet of the wetlands line, which is a dry ditch that the FDOT dug. There's no water in it, hadn't been any water in it in years. It's for Lake Smith to spill over into to get to the wetlands. So now you've got you got 25 feet on their side, 25 feet on my side, plus you have the wetlands delineation. So there's no way that we're getting that close to that property line on the south side. You want to add anything to that?
So with regard to the fence, it would be the area of development.
Okay.
Yeah, the project area, yeah.
And it would have some kind of an opaque
Yes, for the,
visual barrier.
yes.
That work?
All right, and let's see, this issue, though, about the gun range that has everybody concerned and worried about, is there a way to say in the ordinance that if the land uses allowed in the ordinance are violated, that the CUP would be revoked?
I mean, we can add that, but that's in the code, that at any point in time, a revocation proceeding could be brought forward. It would go to the planning board and come back to.
Okay, so if everybody's understanding that you could bring a revocation proceeding if there was a violation of the ordinance, I think that's important for everybody to understand. Okay, so we've got all these changes. We have a motion, a second. Did the gentleman making the motion agree to those
Correct.
additions?
I agree to all those additions.
All right, and the second as well? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. Moving on then to, this is tab 7 and 8, Claremont West. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, Mike Fitzgerald, Office of Planning and Zoning Director. Tabs 7 and 8 are entitled Claremont West. By way of background, the board may recall that this item was brought before the board on September 2nd and continued to today's meeting with the intent that the applicant would discuss the City of Claremont's objections to this project. The applicant is still in conversation with Claremont, and it's my understanding that the applicant wishes to address the board today and request that this item be further postponed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Chairman and board and staff. My name is Jimmy Crawford, 702 West Montrose Street, Crawford, Montague Holt, Claremont, Florida. And I wanted to give you a quick update because I felt like we were sent away with a charge to get with the city and make it a project that the city likes, might not be the right word, but does not oppose. We have been in touch since that afternoon with the city. The client and the client's rep have met with the deputy city manager. I've had multiple text conversations, emails, and phone conversations with Allison Strange, city council person, and Rick Van Wagner, the city manager. The city is in the process of revising their comprehensive plan, just like the county is. And they have just hired and had a kickoff meeting with DPZ Co-Design, which is the firm run by Andres Duani and Elizabeth Plater-Zyberk, Ms. Zyberk, who are really one of the very founders of new urbanism, and they're working on that. And as I sent an email I forwarded part of an email that Ms. Allison Strange sent me, and I probably closed out of it. It basically said, we don't support the project as it is. The owner is working with us. We want them to sit down with our planners and discuss the project. We've had 2 tentative meetings set that everybody wound up not being able to make. So we're trying. I believe we can get there. I really do. And I'm requesting another 30-day postponement. Although if we do 30, it is possible that I'll have to come back and ask for one more. So we would accept 60 or 2 months instead of 1 month as well, whatever the board's preference. But we really do appreciate the time, and we're trying very hard, and I feel optimistic that this will work out.
Move to postpone 60 days.
Well, let's pick the date. We know what date we'll be back on a zoning hearing. Can we go with that?
December 2nd.
Can you add that to your motion?
To approve, postpone until
December
December
2nd.
2nd.
All right, do we have a second? Reluctantly.
I mean, I'll second it, but let me just say, and I appreciate a lot of the projects that you do, some that I support, some that I have not through the years.
Sure.
One more time, I guess, is okay, but honestly, I'm inclined to deny it without prejudice because I think they're going to have to approve it anyway. But I mean, if you want to wait 60 days, I think it's really them meaning the city of Claremont needs to, because it's such in the core of that city right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want 60 days, I can go along with that.
I appreciate that.
But I'm probably gonna come back and say no. I mean, I'm gonna say no unless they've said yes. But I mean, if they're saying yes, then there would be no need for you to be here. You know what I mean?
I understand, and Commissioner Smith said the same thing the 1st of September. So one of the quite possible outcomes is that we withdraw the application and go straight to the city, because I do hear the board's conversation and wishes. And I stood up earlier and said, let's stick to the spirit of the talks that are going on between the city and the county. So I would be disingenuous if I said, forget the city, they don't matter, let's just approve this. So I understand completely. Please keep an open mind. We're going to bring back, if we bring back, it's going to be a jam-up, beautiful project, I promise you. And we'll see
Do you
then.
have some TDRs involved with that?
Could be, you never know. That's why you need to.
That might be the only reason I wait for 60 days, just so
All
I
right,
can hear you
did-
say it in here, but.
Did you second, or do we still need, you seconded
second.
reluctantly? Okay, all
But
right.
I'm gonna say that I'm not in favor of this at all. I don't think it should be in front of the county. It's completely surrounded by Claremont, as I said before. I think it needs to go to Claremont. It doesn't need to come here. It's going to have Claremont Utilities, Claremont Services, Claremont Fire, Claremont Police, Claremont Garbage. No reason why it even be here, so I'm going to vote no on this extension.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the extension, however, something major is going to have to change to make it work.
Yeah, I think that message has been conveyed, and it is, it does have a regional office future land use, so if things were to fall apart with the city and the applicant wanted to morph the plan into something that fit what they're allowed to do in the county, even though they still have to get their utilities likely from the city of Claremont, it doesn't mean that they don't have a right to ask the county for an approval. So I feel like we have to.
One more time. Yeah.
All right,
No,
okay,
that's-
all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, moving then to tab 9 and 10, Lakeshore Preserve.
Can we take a 5-minute break before this one? Just 5 minutes, not 10.
Can you take a 5-minute break and get back in a hurry?
I will.
I'll take a 5.
Does everybody want a 5-minute break?
I'm good.
Can we,
Get through this.
let's try
I'm
to get
fine,
through it.
I'm fine pushing through.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the last one?
This is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Tabs 9 and 10 are companion tabs. This is the Lakeshore Preserve. The requested action is to amend the future land use from rural future land use category to planned unit development on approximately 94.5 acres and amend the comp plan policies to proceed with the development for a 149 residential lot development. Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval by a vote of 4-0 with 1 abstained. The BCC approved the transmittal of this item to the state. This is the future land use, a large-scale amendment to the future land use. The transmittal to the state was approved 4-1. The location of this property is south of Lakeshore Drive in unincorporated Claremont. Concept plan depicts 149 residential lots with associated open space and stormwater. Maximum allowed impervious surface is 60% with 40% open space. The development will include varying lot sizes of 65 feet, 70 feet, and 120 feet. For the parcels outside of the PUD, open space and passive recreation are proposed on approximately 11.25 acres located within the Green Swamp area of critical state concern. The concept plan also shows approximately 46.3 acres to be preserved as conservation area, along with a 50-foot upland buffer for the area located within the Green Swamp. This is proposed as a planned unit development at 1.46 dwelling units per net acre. Subject parcels are located within the Claremont Joint Planning Area, and the City of Claremont expressed that they have no opposition to this project. The proposed amendment is consistent with surrounding subdivisions. The utility notification form submitted by Sunshine Water Services indicated that central water is available, but central sewer is not. Should the land use amendment request be approved, the rezoning ordinance contains a condition that states that the property will be required to utilize distributed wastewater treatment systems. Schools, the Lake County School Board reviewed the application to determine that a proportionate share mitigation agreement will be required. There's capacity available for elementary and middle school, but there's a deficiency that exists at the high school level. Lake County Fire Station 109 is located less than 3 miles from the subject property. A study of intersections are currently operating at adequate level of service and are projected to do so at build-out, and an environmental assessment will be submitted when the project, if the project is approved and moves forward to subdivision construction. Moving on to tab number 10, this is the companion ordinance to the future land use. The requested action is to rezone parcels within the urban residential district R6 to planned unit development on approximately 154.34 acres to facilitate the Lakeshore Preserve 149 lot subdivision. Included in this is a waiver to allow streets and roadways to utilize a design and construction standard of 50 feet in lieu of a minimum right-of-way of 60 feet and utilize curb and gutter stormwater conveyance system. An additional waiver is to allow elevation changes in topography that would exceed 10 feet. Planning and Zoning Board voted to approve this on their regular agenda, 4-0 with 1 abstained. The location is south of Lake Shore Drive. Once again, this is a proposed planned unit development, 149-lot residential subdivision at 1.46 dwelling units per net acre, 60% maximum impervious, minimum open space of 50 feet, and a building height of 45 feet. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here to present.
Okay, any questions for Mike?
No, I met with the attorney.
Oh, okay, thank you for disclosing. Anybody else need to disclose?
I've also met with the attorney and the applicant as well.
All right. Okay, Vincent?
Questions?
Yes? Is-
Real quick, DWTS and the roads, are the HOA going to be responsible for collecting the funds to maintain the roads and the DWTS?
That is the,
You, right?
Yeah, I think an MSBU is proposed for the road, to internal road maintenance, and the same thing goes for the DWTS.
Okay,
That-
so the county's not going to be responsible, the HOA is?
No. It's an MSBU.
Oh, so we are responsible?
Yeah, so the MSBU is the one, is collected, yeah, for, that is.
collected for that purpose.
Right.
So we're collecting on the ad valorem?
Correct. It would still be a county road. It's not an ad valorem, it's an assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't trust HOAs.
Okay, all right. Any comment? We have speaker card for Vincent Moreno? Unless, I guess okay, sorry. The applicant's going to go briefly, because we're very familiar with this. We spent a lot of time on it previously.
Jeff preceded me on the last meeting, and my record is trying to beat his time.
Okay, let's see if you can do it, 'cause
Do we have the PowerPoint real quick?
Like Nelly? Why don't we do that?
what?
Okay, scrap the PowerPoint.
Good.
Yeah, we got 2 items before us. My name is Bill Ray with Ray and Associates Planner and Environmental Consulting. We have our entire project team here together to present this project. 2 items in front of you. One is the adoption of the future land use, and the second, the future land use of PUD and the approval of the existing PUD. The primary emphasis of the PUD is to resolve the issue with a conflict of the underlying zoning that was pre-existing of R6. The comp plan designation is rural, therefore the pre-existing zoning and then the comp plan created a conflict. This is to resolve those conflicts with a development pattern that's compatible with the surrounding area, which is why we chose the PUD working with staff. Then moving forward, like we said, we have 50% open space. We have no development preserved, no development proposed within the green swamp, no development whatsoever. It's protected by a conservation easement. We listened to the public at our neighborhood meeting. A primary emphasis was the traffic and slowing the traffic and facilitating the safe movement of traffic in that area. We've done that with 2 off-site improvements, working with your staff to develop a roundabout entrance at the front of the project, eliminating some existing current problems on a curve, and then dealing with the further to the west, the sadly named intersection of Death, which is growing up in that region. That's a bad intersection. And so county had been looking to improve that intersection with a roundabout, but lacked the funding. We're coming forward to assist within the funding of that to get these transportation improvements completed concurrent with construction of the project, and not at some ambiguous time at some point in the future when the county gets the funding to move forward. Again, highly walkable community. We drew a lot of inspiration for the layout and design of this from the rural conservation subdivision. We have over 1.5 miles of nature trails inside of the project itself. The DWTS, which is primarily the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus from the wastewater stream, will be funded through an MSBU. The roads internally will be private, however, they will be funded by an MSBU. It will be proposed as a gated subdivision with that. I think I've hit pretty much the high points. Of course, we'll have an updated environmental survey when we get close to construction, because gopher tortoise surveys are only valid for 90 days. There'll be a 100% site survey done of that. We've completed a 100% coverboard survey for sand skinks. U.S. Fish and Wildlife determined that it did not contain viable sand skinks and was not viable sand skink habitat.
So under no circumstances, though, will COs be issued inside this neighborhood until those two improvements shown on this plan are completed. Is that correct? Will the Lakeshore Drive roundabout be done?
Correct. Yeah, no COs, correct.
Right, right. Just want to
Yeah,
make
that
it
is-
clear, we're not going to be in a scenario.
We're not going behind the ball on that. The roundabout at the front of the entrance is a defining branding entrance for the entire subdivision. It designates that sense of place, that sense of arrival, and also calms the entire Lakeshore Drive.
And then Lakeshore Drive
The
will
same
be
one where it
finished as
ties
well.
it down going up to the
Okay,
elevator.
those are my big issues on this one, is addressing obviously the conflict between the old zoning and the comp plan, fixing it with this, and getting those two major improvements that will help improve the safety tremendously in that area. And then we do have a speaker card, so if we can hear from Vincent Moreno.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Vicente Moreno. I live at 9435 Lakeshore Drive. On the map, I'm actually the resident right in front of where the proposed little cul-de-sac's going to be, just north of the traffic circle in question. I'm in favor of the project simply for the simple fact of just safety. Safety is paramount. I have a family of 3 children. My wife's back there with our youngest. We've only been living at that residence since November of last year. Shortly after we moved in, we got to meet all the surrounding neighbors, and they stressed to us just the safety issue because they saw we had children, just to inform us while we moved in that the road's very dangerous and there's a lot of speeders up and down, and several crashes, several fatalities have happened in the past few years, well before we moved in. But in the short time that we've lived there, just this past July, July 8th to be exact, I was outside mowing my lawn and I saw a rollover happen right in front of me. And I was one of the first few people to respond to the accident. So not even in a year of us living there, we saw just the safety hazards, people always flying by. So I just want to say that I support it and look forward to hopefully having that done sooner than later, just for the safety of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to be here. Okay, all right, bringing it back to the board. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second for both with a quick discussion.
Excuse me, Commissioner, we do have some people online that
Oh,
would like
I'm
to
so
speak.
sorry. We have somebody online.
The first one is Vicky Dewey Cashwell. You should be able to unmute your line. Please state your name and then give your comments to the board.
Hi, Vicki Dewey Cashwell, 10904, 10908 Evmar Drive, Claremont, Florida, unincorporated, right between Autumn Lane and Evmar is my property. And just try and make this quick. 1992, 1993, I don't know the dollar amount of the damage. House right on Lakeshore was hit, damaged pretty severely. 8/26/2004. It was listed as first event off-road. Crashed into the home. Damage was $10,986.93. 7/6/2008. Point of collision, shoulder. Traffic way character, the curve level. Off-road was the first. Cable, utility pole, property damage. That was $6,210. Then March 3rd, 2009. It was listed as traffic way character, curve level, point of collision, off-road. Then off-road hit other fixed object. That was $25,000. They had capped out, but the damage was more than that. Then we go to the accident, the last one to the home, 7/3/2022. Manner of collision, off-roadway, negotiating curve. Damage was over $70,000. I was only paid not even $41,000, and I still have issues with the home. On that FHP report, the road is graded a level 1, which requires immediate reconstruction. I have countless emails with the engineering department and everybody. Y'all know all about this. And I've been promised, I have documented evidence of you guys saying, yes, you're going to come and do this. You're going to do this. Y'all approved a guardrail. Nothing's been done. This community's coming in here wanting to put a roundabout. It needs to be done. I was even promised by Jennifer Barker just a couple months ago of all these temporary improvements they're going to do. And I don't see a temporary shoulder. The sign hasn't been moved. You know, it's like I'm paying double mileage right here. Where's that money going? It's not going to the roadways here because y'all don't do anything. When Jeff Earhart had to do that presentation back in December, I have a photo of him or whoever he sent out here the day after December, so December the 4th. He came out here to take that picture that he used to present that presentation on the second meeting in December. He was out here for a total of maybe 3 minutes. They put that presentation together just as a show. All this is a show, and this needs to happen because you guys are neglecting your duty to keep people safe. Then on the one that Vincent was just speaking about that happened July 8th of just this year, there's countless others. But this gentleman, his name is Larry, he's still going through rehabilitation. He came off the roadway, couldn't correct himself because of the angle of that road. It's a 90-degree curve. And once all of these, every one of these FHP reports I have, this all off-road, they can't correct
Thank you. We've got all your comments on the record. Who's our next speaker?
Next up is Tim Elrod. Tim, you should be able to unmute your mic. Please state your name and then give your comments to the board.
Hey, my name is Tim Elrod, and we own the property just to the west of the proposed community. We own 10 acres that we're building a family house on, and just wanted to state that we highly approve of this. We have a teenage driver in our future, and safety is of our concern, so we approve.
Thank you for calling in. Appreciate that. Any more callers? Okay, all right, bringing it back to the board.
Get a motion in a second.
Motion and a second, and you had some comments?
Yeah, just a quick comment again. I appreciate the applicant working on this with us. I wish more would work like you had in good faith and try to address these issues. Again, just a little perspective. This is the Lakeshore Corridor, the very problematic, long, as Commissioner Campion notes especially, problematic Lakeshore Corridor. This is probably the last property that's along the Lakeshore Drive corridor. Has some issues with the rezoning and being inconsistent, so this is from my perspective, being supportive of this, of taking our future in our own hands here, working with somebody now that's willing to work to get the best, whereas if we did not and said denied this, one, we would not get these road safety issues taken care of immediately if we were to deny, but then two, we would be unsure of what could occur in the future. Somebody may not, and maybe you get a different board, might not be as agreeable to the buffering and the 50% open space and the easement that's dedicated in the back. So I say all that to say I approve, and I think this is trying to make the best out of a problematic, difficult situation with the lack of planning along the Lakeshore Corridor in the past, and then some of the zoning entitlements being handed out the way they were after the freezes and what happened there. So this is, I think, the best that we could get out of this. So I'm supportive.
All right. Yeah, I'm anxious to be down there once those roundabouts are in and see how all of this comes together. And I appreciate you all going the extra mile to see that this is an improvement. And so thank you very much for that. Motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Moving along then to our annexation report.
Madam Chairman, can we just clarify that was for both tabs 9 and 10?
Yes, that was for 9 and 10. Yes. Yes, you should try to keep that trend up.
That was
Yeah.
impressive.
Keep that record going.
You were very disciplined.
You can do it. You can do it again and again and again. Yeah.
Bill, you can charge travel time.
All right, annexation report.
Chairman, this is it, the annexation report. We will begin with Eustis. We've received a notice from the city of Eustis that they intend on annexing approximately 20 acres located north of County Road 44, west of County Road 52. Current Lake County zoning is agriculture. Proposed city zoning is suburban neighborhood design district. Current Lake County FLU is urban low. Proposed city FLU is suburban residential. The Lake County density is one dwelling unit per four net acres. I'm sorry, that does not. Urban low is 4 units per 1 acre. Proposed city density is 5 dwelling units per acre. Proposed properties located along County Road 452, where the future Lake Yale Loop will be located. Additional right-of-way may be required in the case of site development. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And the city limits are all there along the south, I see. Then there's the truck property, the trucking, service trucking is right there. Yeah. And our land use is urban low, so 4 dwelling units to the acre.
I'm sorry, say
Ours is urban low, 4 to 1. What they're asking for is 5 to 1.
correct.
And it's contiguous, so it meets Florida statutes, doesn't seem to be out of the ordinary. Okay, anybody have any comments? I don't really see how you can oppose something when it's just a minor increase in the density when it's contiguous and clearly contiguous.
Okay, moving on.
The only thing that comes to mind is just that 452 and 44, I mean, 44 is a corridor that we know needs significant improvement. So I think that the one thing I would consider is that we include in a letter of response that we would look, we want to work with the city of Eustis to work with our, with the MPO and with the state to identify funds to help us address capacity issues on County Road 44. It's a state reliever road. It's one of the roads that we've been talking about a lot that needs widening and needs turn lanes and so forth.
Do you want a letter coming from the district commissioner, or you want that to just come from staff as a comment?
I think it needs to be at a level that gets the recognition of coming from the board with, staff obviously assisting with the drafting of the letter. But I think it should come from our board because we know 44 is between the Eustis portion and the Leesburg portion. This road needs significant work.
Okay, I can.
And because they would be annexing it, they're in the best position to be making requests of a developer that would be annexing in for assistance with needs on 44. I think that's how we have to change our mindset so that when it's an annexation and it's on a road that needs work, that the city's in the best spot to ask for involvement. Okay, all right, next one.
The next annexation is from the city of Claremont, and the next 2 annexations are from the city of Claremont, and they're really just informational. This is 88.5 acres. The location is north and south of Hammock Ridge Road. This is an annexation of the completed Hammock Point and Hammock Reserve subdivision pursuant to their developers agreement. So additionally, Claremont is also annexing Luisa Grande. That is also a completed subdivision that they're annexing pursuant to their utility agreements, developer agreements.
They taken over the roads?
The roads are built to standard. I believe they should be taking over the roads pursuant to the conversation that I had with Public Works.
And these are existing neighborhoods, correct?
These are existing completed.
Yeah, they're annexing them now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wonder how
Interesting.
many calls they're going to get.
Yeah.
So if the annexation is approved on these, my office will prepare the road transfer agreement and we'll get it over to the city attorney.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the final annexation report is the City of Leesburg. This is for 596 acres east of County Road 448 and south of Ronald Reagan Turnpike. Current Lake County zoning is agriculture. Proposed city zoning is planned unit development. Current Lake County FLU is rural. Proposed city FLU is estate. And that comparison is 1 dwelling unit per 5 net acres or 1.5 dwelling units per 1 gross acre. The intent is to develop the property with a residential use in accordance with the regulations of the City of Leesburg. And our Public Works Department has supplied a multitude of comments in regards to traffic, stormwater, and infrastructure improvements that will be required in association with this property. And those will all be addressed. If the annexation gets approved and they move forward with developing this as a residential subdivision, these Public Works comments will carry forward as a matter of the site plan approval.
Is that Leesburg all the way around?
Yes.
The hash mark you see is the City of Leesburg.
Okay.
So it's on the west, it's on the south, it's on the east, it's on the north? Is that basically what you're at? I mean, it's literally surrounding the
Around it.
property?
Yeah, this will show it a little bit more clearly.
There, that's much easier to see.
And my only concern is it's really wet out there.
Yeah.
They don't have like a conservation subdivision. They don't have like a 50% open space with their subdivision guideline, their subdivision rules, right?
What we
This is,
understand.
this is under contract for,
35% open space. I'm not familiar with their regulations for conservation, rural conservation.
and this, who's under contract to build on this, do we know?
I do not know that.
It's tough because it's like an enclave of county property and surrounded by a city.
Enclaves are good.
I mean, I love the idea of copying our rural subdivision design and attaching it to a letter and saying, this would, you know,
Yeah, we encourage you to.
we encourage you to consider a rural conservation design on a property
Yeah,
such as this.
good. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
your district, you good with that?
Totally support that idea. Let's do that.
Because they may not have anything like that, but it might be a way that they could use a PUD to sort of copy our rural conservation design. And it would then save enough open space and protect, you know, against flooding and protect those water assets on that property.
And perhaps reiterating your statement regarding the cooperation with the MPO.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, any more?
That was it. We did the other one earlier. Only thing left, if this is a discussion item today.
Okay, yeah, this is under my
Or
report.
slides
to-
help.
Okay. All right, so moving along then to reports, county attorney? County manager?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Sabatini?
No updates.
Commissioner Parks?
Yeah, I want to update everybody on the inaugural first Public Lands and Trails Acquisition Committee meeting that was held. I don't think I've updated you on that, have I? Okay, so we had a meeting last week. I thought it went very well. It was the sort of the inaugural setup meeting. The board, I think, is going to be very good. A lot of good questions already being asked. The discussion centered around the evaluation process, which we're going to take up at our next meeting. We'll have staff which has an evaluation process in place. They're going to look at incorporating the countywide conservation strategy into that as well, specifically the Marksan modeling. There'll be applications that will come in. Some, I think there's already been a lot of interest, and I think the staff has received applications, even though we formally haven't opened the process up yet.
So there's not a form online, because I had someone ask me
I
about,
don't think there's a form online that I'm aware of.
how should they submit if they want to be
Yeah,
in the
and that was a
pipeline?
question that came up about setting up a very exclusive website just for the process, for this program, I should say.
Okay.
But
But if you want to have information about property that people are interested in being considered, go ahead and send it to me for now until they get the process established and the criteria
Okay.
identified, and I'll take care of getting it to staff.
So, good. It's overall very good, a lot of good, good ideas, and the understanding of, trying to get lands for trails, but maximizing acreage of preservation as well. And that balance, striking that right balance is, all playing out right now between now and the next meeting, and meetings as we go into 2026 as well, so. Very good, though. Very happy that is now underway, so.
All right.
And that's
great.
all I have.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Morris?
Quick, I don't know if you noticed or not, but earlier today, there was a young man sitting in the back, two young men. His name is David Osborne. He is in the transition program with Employ You, which is a federal program. I met with him. I did want to acknowledge that he was here. He probably had to go back to school because he's currently employed at goes to Holy Trinity Episcopal. He wants to pursue a career in politics, and he wanted to come in and watch the meeting. So I just want to acknowledge he was here.
All right, great.
All right. Then on my report, I wanted to give everyone an update on the Okahumpka, called Community Center, but the historic school site. We had a meeting, as we discussed at our last meeting, we were going to get together with the group that has been working so hard to raise funds and get grant funding and so forth. We were able to have a great meeting, and there were individuals from the state of Florida, the Historic Preservation Board, I believe, and very familiar with the grants that had been awarded, and were able to give some insight on that. One of the things that came up was the possibility of assuring that the school site, that they're moving along, getting that renovation done, that they could actually get a CO. They cannot get a CO until there are bathrooms. There cannot be bathrooms in that building because it's being preserved in its original historic state, right? So what was suggested through a lot of brainstorming and staff brainstorming was the idea of what about a standalone bathroom, and use the CDBG grant to get that standalone bathroom so it could be used so that that building, could actually get a CO. Now, it's not air conditioned, it's not really a great place to be having a lot of community activities, but their goal was to use it as a museum. But if it has a bathroom, it's then could be opened up, and you could have meetings, but with maybe fans or at, certain months of the year. So one idea that we threw out, and I wanted to see if you all would be supportive of this concept, and that is that instead of a community center being constructed, a community library would be built so that it could serve as a meeting facility as well as a library, and maybe make the size of it smaller than what they had proposed. Whatever footprint would work and still function in a way. This is the site plan that they had originally were working with. And we talked to the historic preservation folks and the state grant folks. They really like the idea a lot. The people from the 501c3, they love the idea of, a library that would provide an opportunity for kids, summer reading programs after school, the things that you do in a library, as well as seniors in the area. So it could be done in 2 phases, basically. You get the CDBG grant for the bathrooms, so you get your CO. In the process, while we're doing that, we work on a concept plan, and then we could actually submit to CDBG for funding for a small library. And it would kind of bring back the learning aspect of the school was there all along for learning and for the kids. And these folks, they would have to go all the way to Leesburg, to our closest library. And so it was very well received. Of course, the property would have to be basically divided so that the library site would be owned by the county and the historic school would be owned by the 501c3.
They were okay with that.
They seem to be very receptive, and so that's what I wanted to see if in concept you all would be supportive, in which case we could move along and see, kind of have our people take a stab at what the site could be, how the site could be designed to actually accommodate, instead of a community building, a library that had meeting space in it.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so in concept, yeah, I mean, what's the next step? Get some cost and what it's gonna, phasing and everything?
Yeah, to see what it would cost, and then work on a CDBG grant that we would submit for that purpose, and then get the state to agree that the one that's already been awarded could be modified to take care of the bathroom facility, so that at least we know we've gotten that part taken care of, and the old schoolhouse, once all the renovations are done, which they've got the funding for that, that they could actually, you know.
Will this get us out of timeout with the grant people? They're not happy with us.
Yes, so essentially what we would do is withdraw the current application for CDBG, because they do have the state grant available that could cover the restroom facility, well, when they revise the scope, it would cover the restroom facility, so then we'd withdraw, we would come back and reapply in a new funding cycle for the library.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it would take us out of that red flag zone. And it also, again, it was very much supportive by the people from the state that were on the call with us. So, yeah, all right, well, that's awesome. I appreciate that, and we'll bring back updates once we get a little further along. Okay, Commissioner Smith, do you have some, like, good news today about what today?
I do, and today is, I got two of them today, because today is National Inner Beauty Day. And if you can't find your inner beauty, today's also LED light day. So if you can't find your inner beauty, turn on your LED light.
All right.
Pro-incandescent, sorry.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We stand adjourned.